This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Oh God, it's me again. It is me again. It's me again introducing the EggChasers Rugby podcast. Hello everyone, it is the EggChasers Rugby podcast. Let's do it all again.
No, carry on. I like this. No,
I was reading my phone.
The podcast about rugby that doesn't take itself or the game too
seriously. This is an ambush. Phil just waved at me. Yes. I'm JB, here with Tim.
Hello, JB.
And Phil.
Hello, JB.
All in studio, ambushing me. That was awful.
That was quite enjoyable.
I enjoyed that.
It's terrible. It's terrible. You're not going to let me do it again, are you? So I've got to just wear it.
Do it live.
Own it, JB.
Don't like that. Anyway, how are we, boys?
Good.
What a weekend of rugby.
Great weekend of rugby.
Interesting weekend of rugby.
The greatest weekend of rugby in the history of rugby.
You said that as a Welshman.
Oh, I'm not thinking about being Welsh. I'm thinking of being Didsburyan. Would that be like what I'm called?
Didsburyite.
And there you go.
Didsburyite.
We've started in the right way. Where some grassroots podcasts will just focus on the international rugby, we will be there. Even though they're grassroots podcasters, we're actually there with grassroots rugby as well.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Don't forget to get more content at patreon.com/EggChasers. We'll have to do one of them today.
Yeah, we'll do one today.
We'll
good
do
idea.
In fact, would you share that private conversation you had with a very, very well-known rugby luminary?
Absolutely not. No, absolutely not. I will never, ever do that, which is why I have so many private conversations with rugby luminaries.
Okay. Yes, patreon.com/EggChasers for more content. You can subscribe. Please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And I've lost the ability to speak as well now. For me, it's been a long weekend. I was at Twickenham yesterday. Have you?
Were you?
Did you go out and watch the rugby anywhere?
Do you know, I have not watched a single second of live rugby. I'm addicted to just waiting half an hour into the game, turning off all my notifications and watching it with catch-up. I find it so much more enjoyable.
Yeah. That's how I watched the second half of England.
Which is kind of worrying, really. Mind you, maybe I do that because of the volume of rugby I've got to watch.
Yeah.
So I had to watch it all. I couldn't just watch, a bit of it.
Yes. Yeah.
So maybe that's it. But maybe it is a worry, the fact that even I, who love my rugby, tend to want to watch it on catch-up.
Well, I always find that 5:30, 5:45 kick-off time annoying as well on a weekend. Just because I'm normally making tea for the kids.
They don't do it. They don't do it on the half hour. And I think it's 5:40 or 8:10 now.
It is. That's a TNT thing.
Yeah, I don't mind that. So I'm completely against you on the 5 o'clock-ish kickoff, because to me that is your beer in your hand, post rugby. That's what you're watching. So you always miss the 3 o'clock, or you get the very tail. You get the last 10 minutes. Then you can top up a few beers and then watch the second game. And then you don't want to watch it on catch-up because you're in your rugby club. So and then when you're properly loaded and then you go into like town or wherever it is and you forget that the 8 o'clock game is on and then it comes on, it's such a delicious treat.
The 8 o'clock is a lovely kick-off time.
It's a great kick-off time. Yeah. 8 beers down and then the 8 o'clock kick-off is just sublime. So it's always France as well. It's always a good game.
It's always France. So I just finished the second half of England, South Africa, and rolled straight into then France, New Zealand.
Glorious.
With almost no break at all.
And by the way, what a great game.
Great game. So good.
That was a great game. That was a really good game.
I mean, we have to start with England, I guess, because of our huge English and South African following.
I'll tell you, like, if we just zoom out for a minute, bigger picture stuff, and we can dive into actual games, but do you think any coaches and I'm talking basically Steve Borthwick and Warren Gatland here, will or should be relieved of duties?
Absolutely not. I think...
Is that not to both questions? Because I think both shouldn't.
Yeah.
I think there is a small risk that Gatland does go before the Six Nations. I hope that Borthwick does both.
Gatland,
I think he shouldn't. I hope
Gatland's not going to resign. Gatland is not going to resign.
No,
maybe he's waiting to be fired so he can be paid off and still get his cash.
I'm going to say something
because he took the Wales job over the England job because for the cash, which I don't begrudge him that at all.
Well, I would say something different, which is, England and Wales lost. The scoreline against Wales was not good, but I didn't think the performance was bad. I didn't think England's performance was bad. If these look like two complete joke teams, I go, oh, yeah, we need to do something now, boys. I thought the selections were, broadly speaking, the correct ones. With Wales, what else could you do? Who are you going to bring back?
There's a few players at Ospreys that are not getting a look in. But I suppose, sorry, without wanting to interrupt on Phil, broadly speaking, I agree with you. The one counterpoint to that, whilst I actually agree with the general thrust of what you're saying, the counterpoint is, with a very similar group of people, look how different Australia are in 6 months.
Well, Australia are exactly the reason you don't fire someone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think that we're looking at...
What Eddie Jones would have been doing, the team would have been playing just the same.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Right, yeah, okay. Well, Eddie Jones is a different kettle of fish altogether. I'm glad he's gone. And I would like him probably just to disappear from rugby at this point. I think that looking how Australia have refound themselves is really encouraging. And I think Wales should take a lot of heart from that. Because it wasn't, 12 months ago that Wales put a record score on Australia.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So these things turn around really quickly.
Mm.
In terms of personnel, just to put some meat on the bones there, in the back line, Wales at that World Cup game had Lewis Rees-Zammit, Liam Williams, Josh Adams as their back three, George North, Nick Tompkins as their midfield, and Dan Biggar as their fly half. And Gareth Davis was backing up Thomas Williams. So a completely different back line. The pack, however, Taulupe Faletau aside, and Thomas Francis, which are not small cogs, don't get me wrong, but the pack is pretty much the same. So behind the pack, it's completely different. The pack, though, weirdly, when I sort of think about Wales, and we'll dive into the game, I don't want to get too bogged down in the detail, but they got absolutely bullied.
I thought
that would be a bit of a worry.
I mean, look, they're not quite big enough. I've said about Wales before. They're kind of the right weight, but the shapes are all wrong. So it's like, the second row is just a little bit too skinny, or the prop, which is kind of just a bit too fat. They always have to sacrifice something. They don't have these all-round athletes that, say, South Africa have or England have. So they're always compromising somewhere. The beautiful thing about rugby is that it doesn't necessarily need to be the 15 best players. It just needs to be the best team.
Rassie Erasmus's quote is, "I don't pick the best players, I pick the right players."
Yeah, and I mean that's easy to say, isn't it? When you've got South Africa, and he's lucky enough to have both the right players and a phenomenal team.
Yeah, it's hard for him to pick the wrong players. He just picks any. Just get 15 blokes on the pitch. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, that worked. That's just.
What was your general thought, Phil, on this topic of coaches being going or not?
I don't think either should. And I don't want either to, and I don't think either will. I think there's marginally more chance of Gatland going, but probably the WRU can't afford that anyway, so that keeps him safer.
Well, and also you've got to remember about Gatland, he's the only sort of bastion of stability and normality in all of Welsh rugby. So everything else is a complete mess.
He has gates named after him at the Principality Stadium. He has a set of gates named in his honour. It would
exactly.
I don't know if this is how. I hope it ends with a positive, mutually.
I mean, you look at
agreeable.
You ever watch Wales Online? Not that I do, but the reason I mention them is they'll occasionally do an article like. I don't remember what the number is because the number seems to get bigger and bigger every time. It's like the 6 men that will save Welsh rugby, the 12 people that will save Welsh rugby, the 86 people that will save Welsh rugby. And they get like this picture of just nobodies who are sat in a room, usually like a hotel conference centre on cheap chairs in like a sort of banqueting table. And it'll have their pathetic titles over each of them, like Development of Sustainable Rugby Coordinator, President of the of the WRU, and all of these people who are continuously washed through the system who don't have a clue about rugby, continuously just ruining the whole thing. And then you've got the regions that are just a hot mess.
There is a bit of me that whilst...
It's only Gatland that's normal.
Yeah,
Everything else is...
There is a little
wild.
bit of me that, and without any glee, wants it to get worse. Not because I'll find it entertaining or want to, but just because actually the fundamental changes that need to happen... How bad does it have to get before they actually someone grabs a hold of it? I just don't know if there is the IQ in the room to actually do the things which need to be done.
Yeah, and it's sort of the way it's going to... You've got to sort of turn around this thing, which is basically a huge, huge committee and life appointments and lots of vested interests and, and also this symbiotic relationship between the WRU and the Welsh culture and the, councils and governments. It's a lot more political. It's probably more akin to something like a Pacific Island governance structure than it is to like the RFU. The RFU look positively professional compared to the WRU.
Apart from Bill Sweeney.
Even Bill Sweeney.
Even Bill Sweeney.
I mean, at least he had some sort of real job prior to coming to the RFU.
What I will say though is I'm far more positive and sanguine about England and the trajectory that they're on than most people, most of the press, most England fans. I think they are broadly going in the right direction, although they have some huge glaring weak spots that we will talk about in depth in a little bit. I am not particularly positive about Wales, not because I think it's Gatland's fault, but to the point you made earlier, JB, these are the best lads. Yeah, but there aren't many more options in this.
I'm actually really... Can we talk about Wales now? Should we just talk about Wales now?
Let's just talk about Wales. Yeah.
I am more confident, because I love their back row. I think they've got enough pieces.
The back row is good.
They will have huge advantages over England because it's kind of like Willie Beeman being called off the bench. Look, we've got nowhere else to go. Right, this is it. Just get better, and they will. I mean, look what happened to Thomas Francis. He ended up a Lion, and I think Archie Griffin showed me enough that the Bath third string tight head is probably going to develop into something which will be serviceable, and that's a massive find. Got two hookers which are okay, fine, whatever. Like, just leave them now to develop as a team. I thought Tom Rogers was ace. I thought Cam Winnett was ace. Tom Rogers was amazing, actually.
So the whole back three, Tom Rogers in the air was superb,
wasn't it? And that's where the game's going. So
he was really, really good in the air. Everywhere else, that back three, particularly compared to the Australian back three, they just look like kids.
Yeah, they were
the wrong.
But what does Liam Williams?
Williams
look like? I mean, did you ever see Josh Adams go? That's going to make the difference.
So, and sometimes you don't want the. It's always easier. That's the surgeons should not look like surgeons. Analogy.
Yes.
Like if someone looks like they're going to be absolutely incredible, they're often not quite as good as they look because it's always been easier because everyone's assumed they're incredible because they look exactly as they're supposed to.
I was talking to a very good friend of mine who is a player agent this Wednesday, and we'll not mention his name, but we had this discussion about why it's so hard to find props and why scrum halves are so brave. So maybe we could meme this like the scrum half paradox or the prop paradox or some such thing. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of the tight heads that England have, to your point about shapes and sizes and whatnot, and why they shouldn't look the way they do, because they look the way they do, and they are so strong. They're not very brave because they've never had to be.
Needed to be.
But like, you try playing professional rugby as Gus Waugh, it's bloody hard. Or like, how brave is Harry Randall?
Yeah, Randall, Dupont, Colby.
I mean, just different levels of brave. David Flatman, as I always quote, says the bravest player he's ever played with is George Ford because he takes the ball to the line every single time and gets whacked. Same with bloody Marcus Smith. Like, unbelievably brave. And we've got all these massive props. And we have got some enormous tighter props, young tighter props. And they're just not quite cutting it for that. Probably that reason. Maybe you need someone who's a bit smaller, a bit more nuggety, who doesn't look like a tighter prop, is not being ordained as the second gunman.
I actually think mentality-wise, Ellis Genge is like exactly what I would want from an international prop. Mentality, just like angry.
He is
nasty, angry and nasty. And if he was 10, 15 kilos bigger,
yes, I think actually you probably want something there. He needs to be substantially bigger and stronger, doesn't he? I don't
know about stronger.
Yeah, I think so. I think the whole package needs to be better. He's basically Copus Visa who scrimmages.
He does all the. He's absolutely brilliant at all the things which are great to have, and he's decent at the things you need to be amazing at.
Yeah, well, I've got lots of things to say about his scrimmaging performance this week. But generally speaking, yeah, you're right. If he had an extra 10 kilograms, it would make 20 kilograms potentially. Because he's not big, is he, at all?
He is pretty big.
Do you reckon?
Yeah.
Not in the land of
he
the
doesn't.
Giants.
He doesn't. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Did you see
when he stood next to Tavita Tatafu, the 22-year-old tight head prop for France?
Yeah. Did you see?
Or Emmanuel Mayafu?
Or did you see Tamaiti Williams versus Colom?
Colom, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, that's what they should look like, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the picture you want to paint. Yeah. Ellis Genge is huge for championship or something like that. Yeah. Probably not even that big for championship, to be honest.
How big is you? I'm guessing Phil had already got his.
I was just listening to the conversation.
His tonnage up. I would have guessed he is 118 kilos, something like that.
Yeah, I think he's about that, which is
115, something like that.
Let's see,
it's pretty big.
His England player profile.
But what's the lad from Gloucester who
Afolabi
for Sogbong?
Yeah, well, formerly of London Irish. I'm going to keep saying that all the time.
So he's listed by England at 116.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'd say that sounds about right. Which is not a small man.
Not a small man at all. But when you're playing against guys who are 140,
it's not big. God, it's nowhere near big enough.
Colom with Emmanuel Mayafu scrimmaging behind him.
Yeah. By the way, getting beaten up. They were, they weren't even that wasn't even the strong side of the scrum.
Yeah.
Joe Marler, that can't be right.
Joe Marler's a big boy. No, he's not actually. Joe Marler looks big because he's quite lean.
That can't be right. His Harlequins profile has him as 127. I don't believe that. See if his England profile's gone.
How big he looked in real life, but then being told he wasn't that big.
No. I'm certain he's not 127. I'm absolutely certain he's not 127. That is his Harlequins profile. I think he's had his hand in there. I think he's diddled it.
That's 20 stone on the nose.
Joe Marler's not 20 stone. I'm not having it.
I don't know. He is big.
He is big.
He's huge.
But he's only 6 foot. So,
I mean, maybe. Mind you, I'm sure Carl Ferns is like 18 stone at least.
He's about 6'3".
He's 6'3". He's not that much taller than me, but he is substantially
deeper and wider.
Bigger.
Yeah.
Substantially.
I'm just not having Joe Marler being 127 kg.
I think Joe Marler's substantially bigger again.
What then? Carl Ferns? No, I don't think so. I really don't.
Carl Ferns should have been... Fernsy, you should have transferred to prop. You should have been a prop.
I told him this. Just never listened. Never listened.
Yeah.
So...
Anyway...
we should talk about the game quickly as I was here then.
Yeah.
The Wales game?
Yeah. I thought they played really quite well.
Wales?
Yeah, I thought there was phases of attack where they looked pretty good.
So, 0 to 20, they were woeful.
Dreadful. First 20 minutes.
20 to 40,
they were good.
They were really good.
Yeah, 20 to 40, where they came back into it.
From 19-0 down to 13-19 at half-time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then Karevi gets a red card 42 minutes. And in that 20-minute period with a man extra, they lose that period 21-0.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, part of this is an intercept. Some of it was just poor line-out work. I mean, the line-out work was really shoddy.
As soon as Adam Beer went off, the maul defence and the line-out went to pot.
You look at that and you think, okay, you can fix mauls, you can fix line-outs. Did I see enough in attack to make me excited or just not to worry? Is there a foundation in place? And I think any Welsh fans should look at that and go, yeah, actually there is a foundation. There's something to work with here. And it's not like when you finish the game, you're like, that wasn't good enough, that wasn't good enough, that wasn't good enough. It all needs to be ripped up. People all need to go home. It's terrible, right? It wasn't that. It wasn't that at all.
I'd point to, maul defence is one. I would point to a variety of play with the ball. They were just going side to side. Side to side.
There was a few crossfield kicks to...
A few.
They did nice. A couple of unsuccessful crossfield kicks.
And a couple of successful ones.
Quite a lot of the time they just
got on
quite a lot of the time they were just doing this like out the back to one coast, get tackled, out the back to the other coast, get tackled.
That is true.
And there just wasn't variety. It was kind of, I don't know. It didn't feel like there was anyone orchestrating things.
There's quite a lot of one-up running by Jack Morgan, great player.
There was
not who I need to see smashing into,
especially when
lines.
Angus Bell, Rob Valentini,
Oh, Bobby V.
Bobby V was so
Bobby
good.
V had a
Well,
hit
when
on
they're
there,
just waiting at Uru, that blindside, when they're just waiting to smash you all day.
Yeah.
Skelton.
And Skelton. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just on Australia, I thought, again, they've just shown so much improvement from what they were only maybe 2 months ago.
Yeah. In the Rugby Championship, they did look poor. Admittedly, playing against, two of the top 4 teams in the world and Argentina, who beat 2 of the top 4 teams in the world.
Tom Wright is a legit talent, I think.
Yeah.
Fair to say. They're just not as bad as we thought, is effectively what it comes down to. They're nowhere near.
Is the Six Nations not as good as we thought, perhaps?
No, I'm
If you had to sort of assess what we've seen so far, you go, Rugby Championship is much more intense competition.
No, I don't think that at all. I think that by the time that they come to us, if we had the Six Nations and then did the tour of the Southern Hemisphere, I think you would see a lot more favourable Northern Hemisphere results. To have a whole warm-up tournament, which is not a warm-up tournament, it's full-blooded, full-bore, and then they come over here and the lads are just getting together, whether it be from Ireland, Scotland, it's going to happen. I don't really put much weight on that.
So the flip side to that is it's basically a repeat of what happened in the World Cup last year.
Yeah.
Where the Southern Hemisphere, the big teams beat the Northern Hemisphere teams when it mattered, just like this time around. They're beating them when it mattered.
So World Cup in February, March?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Six Nations roll straight in. All the Southern Hemisphere, they've not played since November. That'd be perfect.
Yeah, it would be ideal.
Although with the... What's it called? What they referred to it as in here? The Mega League.
God, we've got to talk about that.
Potentially coming together. We're going to have to find room for that in the calendar somehow. Yeah. So maybe moving the World Cup to straight after the Six Nations is a good idea.
I'm just trying to think about what David Walsh were right about today. I'm getting obsessed with reading David Walsh.
You're giving him so many name checks. He's delighted that he's ruffling your feathers.
I read the Times for good sports content, and then when I realised that David Walsh was written, I've got to read this. And this week it was... So I think he must have listened to our podcast when we were talking about... He's watched... Is it Chasing the Sun?
Yeah.
Chasing the Sun 2. And from that, he's extrapolated, from watching that one documentary, what England need to do, which is they need to talk like they are in Chasing the Sun. And that is the entirety of the article. He's watched Chasing the Sun, and now he's an expert on coaching in international rugby.
Well, to sort of segue into England South Africa a little bit, there is one thing about Chasing the Sun 2, what it reveals, is that South African players, they play for the shirt, they play for all the people that that they love, that they're playing for, their national pride, all the rest of it. There is just kind of something else which drives them, that the fact that the rugby team, what it represents. And I wonder how much that intangible makes a difference versus, England rugby players sometimes gets accused of being prima donnas and entitled and all these sorts of
private
things.
School boys, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
I kind of see that. Yeah.
So,
I don't necessarily agree with it, but I can see why.
At the very top level, when the margins are so small, could that extra little driver, is that what David Walsh was getting at?
No, because I think that's a very simplistic... basically, he's watched a documentary. That's all that's happened.
It is a fantastic documentary.
And I think that's it.
The episode on scrummaging, have you watched that one, Jay?
I have. It's phenomenal.
It's
phenomenal, but it's full of Eastern philosophy, true by definition sayings, and it's very good. And it's a triumph, not of rugby, but of documentary making. Yeah. So you watch it and think that was phenomenal, because documentary makers are phenomenal. So they deserve all of the credit. It's very similar to people that try and orientate their business to replicate the All Blacks book, when actually there's not really much in the All Blacks book that tells you how to be successful at all. In fact, it's mostly nonsense.
Well, it's misdirection.
Yeah,
focus on sweeping out the change rooms rather than your lineouts.
Yeah,
or your catching restarts. England.
Yes,
they're too busy
bloody restarts,
sweeping the change rooms.
So to come to your point, if what David Walsh was saying is true, or indeed what you kind of proposed then, which is it's more than just a rugby team, why were they so bad for so long? They were really bad.
Yeah, because I guess they didn't have that purpose, did they?
Well, they did. Yeah, they didn't have that purpose. So
South Africa as an entity has always been there.
Well, so Rassie Erasmus, what he did, when you look back at the story of this team, and why people refer to it in phrases like transcending rugby and things like that is because he came in and there were lots of South Africans moaning about the quota system and there's players that aren't good enough to be in the team that are in the team because of this quota system and it's politics and look how bad our team is as a result. I don't want to name names about players, but I could name players that were in the team that probably wouldn't have been there on merit. Rassie Erasmus came in and the first thing he did was go, no, we're doing this and there's no debate. We're doing it. Sia Khaleesi, you're my captain and let's go. And he picked tons of players and he lent into it and I think he connected his team with that bigger picture, higher purpose.
I'm absolutely certain, right, that he's done something like that. I'm sure when you're winning and you're settled and you're the same guys and you do get a combined sense of purpose.
They weren't winning to start with, but
I think they would be winning with that bunch of boys if they were Japanese. And they would all say it's because we're Japanese, or because we're Tongans, or because we're East Timorians, or whatever it is. I think that's just how he rolls. I think a very good coach who's designing a culture.
What do you reckon England are playing for?
Well, we have seen this before, haven't we? With Stuart Lancaster making them sign their jerseys, and they tried to play for their families at one point, which is just so ludicrous. What are England playing for?
Well,
let's do it a different way, right?
Yeah, go on.
When you talk to people in the armed forces, they always talk not necessarily about fighting for Queen and country, even though that's who they, I'm going to get this wrong, but that's where their oath or where they pledge their commitment. They always talk about fighting for your mates. It's all about mates. So why don't you say, what are they playing for? I'm sure they're incredibly proud to be playing for England.
Yeah, absolutely.
But ultimately, I think they play for the man next to them. I think this is the same story over and over again, which is why settled teams do so well. So I think that's, they could play for anything, really, but as long as you really like the guy playing next to you, then you've probably got a good chance of winning.
It did make me think that we've gone through a period and this is broadening it out from rugby, and so I don't want to go down this rabbit hole. You just made me think. We've gone through a period of maybe 5-10 years where people aren't very proud to be English.
Well, yeah, quite. I mean, it's a very old-fashioned thought that you'd want to be patriotic. Very old-fashioned thought that you'd say, "Oh, I'm proud to be English." So why would you want to wear the England shirt? I completely agree with you. In fact, wearing an English football shirt, you'd probably be smeared as a racist before anything else. I mean, that's probably
or displaying an England flag outside of the World Cup, say.
Yeah,
a football World Cup even.
Far right xenophobe or something.
Fortunately, this sort of madness feels like it's starting to ebb away,
doesn't it? Don't know what's changed, but it just feels better.
yeah,
it's good. But yeah, I don't know. I think they're playing for multiple things. Money. I definitely think they're playing for money.
Well, we'll definitely come on to the Mega League, but they should be playing for just doing clean restarts and nice exits. And then we might have actually won a game.
So there's 3 moments in the England game that are horrendous to rewatch, as I have done today. There's the brilliant Grant Williams try, but there's a basic missed tackle and a very difficult missed tackle in that, which is the basic missed tackle is between Ellis Genge and George Martin. The very difficult missed tackle, the one I have a bit of sympathy for, is Freddie Stewart, because Grant Williams is going full tilt at him.
Just to pause on that, hold on the other two the other 2 moments, but on that as well, the one part that gets overlooked is, and I'm sure he's only doing what he was coached, but the giant hole that appears in the defensive line, which Grant Williams runs through, which Chandler Cunningham himself flying out of the line way ahead to go and try and smash Peter Steph-Toy on his own.
No one goes with him.
Yeah.
So there's a massive dog leg, which I think Genge steps towards that dog leg, and that creates the hole for Williams, and he goes through in between.
And it's so basic. So it must be what he's being coached to do.
It must have been, but for no one to go with it, like you would ordinarily, you don't blitz in ones. You occasionally have like a tail gunner type runner from the back of a line out, or indeed like a scrum half.
But then the spacings would account for the fact, we know he's all on his own. We're not just going to leave a hole behind him.
Yes, you're not going to leave a hole, which is exactly what they did. So that's infuriating.
Yeah,
and it's not the first time in the last 3 games that there's been misreads, miscommunication amongst the defensive line, particularly around rucks, and it's, I think, the 3rd time that both Ellis Genge and George Martin have been found a bit wanting positionally in that.
I so desperately would love to be a fly on the wall in the meeting on Monday when they go through the game tape, just to
I want to know, was Cunningham supposed to do
was
that?
He supposed to
is he
do
in
that?
the wrong?
Is he
and therefore it's the
exactly.
people on the side of him who are not wrong.
You don't know if you don't know if you're saying that person messed up there because you don't know
the system.
Don't know the
Exactly.
system.
It's like when people say, "Oh, the line-up fell because of the hooker." Like you have no idea if that ball went exactly where it's supposed to go, and the jumper's got it wrong, or the lifter wasn't, whatever it was. It happens all the time. So yeah, I agree.
What was the second and third points that were infuriating to watch?
Second and third, the 2 of the 3 of the tries in double charge down kick. Oh my god! The first one, and then first one from JVP, and second one from Marcus Smith for the Peter Steph Toy try, and the third one, the missed tackle, Diolande crashing it up. He's not going to pass. He might take contact and offload if he gets it in, but he's not going to pass. He's not going to kick. He's not going to sidestep. He is going to run straight. And he ran straight into one of his opposite men, Henry Slade, and England's starting number 8, Ben Earl, and they didn't even slow him down. It wasn't as if he didn't even go over a speed bump. He just carried on at exactly the same pace. Lovely pass to, he just needs to go anywhere near Cheslin Colby. Colby goes in, but that's such a basic missed tackle. He's a phenomenal player.
Yeah,
he's World 15, almost certainly. Yeah, he's an amazing player. But it's a 2-on-1 tackle, and you know exactly what he's going to do. And there's 3 tries there that are they should be so stoppable, apart from individual mistakes.
I'm more concerned about the level of scrimmaging on display.
It was better.
Scrimmaging.
Will Stewart won a scrum pen.
Yeah, Will Stewart was actually remarkably good.
Well, at scrummaging, he gave away about 4 penalties on his own. Or 3 penalties, I think.
In relation to what I expect from Will Stewart, not in absolute terms.
Stewart, I think, has been good.
He's definitely been better.
And he's been the best I've seen him play in the last 3 games. Yep. I think that's definite. And I think he is definitely England's best tight head now as well.
Yeah, I think both those things are true.
That doesn't mean he's competes on the world stage. I mean, he's second choice in Bath to South Africa's 3rd or 4th choice tight end.
Just slightly ahead of Archie Griffin.
Yes.
hell of a stable of props.
It's frustrating that the same problems have happened week on week on week. It's the same stuff. So defence, as we talked about.
Yeah.
And it's hard to know. Again, I don't know. Like that try for Grant Williams, that might be a coaching issue because the system that they've got is just not working, and all the players did what they were supposed to do, and it's just bad coaching. But it could be individual, and they might be sitting there in the meeting on Monday going, "What on earth were you doing? This is not. This is Chandler. That's not what we train. That's not what we trained to do." And it could be that, and they're going, "Ben, mate, you're an international number 8. You've got to tackle their inside centre when he runs straight at you.
And you've got your mate helping you.
Yeah, Henry, you were right there as well. Come on, between the 2 of you. And that's where I've got sympathy with Steve Borthwick, because it's like, what can a coach do?
Yeah, on those things, it's both incredibly frustrating as a fan to see those 3 tries, but basically from 3 errors. But I also have sympathy for Borthwick because, Borthwick is not coaching Ben Earl and Henry Slade to drop off a tackle in midfield that 5 seconds later leads to Colby diving in the corner.
Perfectly done, boys. Excellently done.
Yeah. Well done,
love it.
Lad. So you have sympathy for that. There is also frustration.
Yeah.
And the 2 main... There's other elements I'm sure you guys want to talk about, but the 2 main areas of frustration for me. 1, restarts. Oh, my God.
So bad.
It's been so bad. And it's not one thing on the restarts. It's knocking on, catching the ball. Then it's not securing the ball at the bottom of a ruck when you set up a ruck. Then it's twice, 9 being charged down. Then it's the 9 not securing the ball, or the 9 passing above someone's head.
Do you think these are restart problems, or do you think they're all individual problems which have happened around the restart?
It's hard to separate those 2 things because a lot of those problems didn't happen elsewhere. They happened at the restart. And it's so noticeable at the restart. When you're catching a restart, it means good things have happened. Like you've just scored, therefore you're catching the restart.
Van Portfleet's kicking was pretty good at hand. And then he gets charged out. Did he get charged on twice?
He got charged on twice.
And then
I thought
Smith got charged on once.
I thought Van Portfleet... I thought he'd been hanging around with Ben Youngs too long. He did his best Ben Youngs impersonation in this game.
Well, There was actually, I think, I'll go to the emails as well. Contact eggchasers@gmail.com. But someone made the point, forgive me for not remembering who you were. They're like, it said you can choose one, you can say you want one scrum half or another scrum half or this scrum half. Are we maybe seeing why Ben Youngs has got over 100 caps? Not because he's necessarily exceptional, although very, very good, and you don't get 100 caps for nothing. But that all of these people that we thought would be, no, pick him instead, aren't very good either.
That's good. Well, I had no problem with Ben Spencer. I thought he played admirably for. I didn't think he did anything wrong at all.
Mitchell's
in
been
his 2
good
games.
for England.
Mitchell's been great. Yeah, and I think when Mitchell's fit, he'll come back in.
But again, this is an England problem, isn't it? Which is not the players aren't good enough.
If you've got too
many of them.
There's too many of them.
Like, so this is not a problem that Wales are going to have.
No.
They're just going to have to stick with the same guys until they get good.
So the restarts was infuriating, especially because it compounded. You've just got 3 points. Oh, and you're conceding 7. Brilliant.
Wonderful. Great.
And the other thing was the last 20 minutes, England had 5 line-outs inside South Africa's 22. Came away with 0 points.
England's points per entry to the 22 was something like 1.1, whereas South Africa's was 3.3.
That was the second thing. That was infuriating. And I think South Africa, they're a very, very experienced and very shrewd team. In the first 30 minutes of that second half, they gave away 10 penalties. And they did it at the right time. They did it in the right way. They only ultimately conceded 1 yellow card, although Peter Steph should definitely have gone to the bin. Andrew Brace gave 2 warnings for maul infringements. For maul infringements, he pulled Sia Khaleesi and said, Sia, there's too many maul penalties, sort it out. And they do another maul penalty, and he goes, Sia, no, I really mean it this time.
Last time I was joking. This time I was serious.
Maybe if someone else, if no-name prop number 2 had taken that down rather than Peter Steph
more than a man.
Adonis.
More than a man, less than a god. Peter Steph
in that play where he collapses them all or attempts to collapse them all, so that was advantage. The same play 2 phases later, he's offside. So he gave away 2, the 9th and 10th penalties of the second half. One after each other, after being given a warning, both in the red zone.
You have to say, you kind of have to say fair play to that. And which brings me to one point here, which was an email I was just looking at, contact eggchasers@gmail.com. And it just says, this one will wind up JB. But the subject is, are England missing Farrell the way the Bucks are missing Brady? This is from an American who's in Florida, Jack Penrose. Thank you, Jack, for your email. But the general point is, and I'll broaden this out about not just Owen Farrell, but in the last 20 minutes of games, does it not look like a team that no longer have Owen Farrell, Courtney Laws?
No, I don't think that's where the problem is, to be honest. I think they just need to get better over all. I don't think it's the last 20 minutes is the problem. It's basically everything.
Well, I'd say the one trend in this game, England played some really nice rugby to get into South Africa's 22, and as soon as they got there, they suddenly went narrow, one out,
the one out stuff.
It's just that I found that more infuriating than anything.
But if I was going to coach England, I'd tell them to do the same thing. You play it nice and wide between, say, the 10, anywhere starting between the 10s, and you eventually narrow it down. And I think the right tactic for most of the time is to actually.
Is it the right tactic when you're playing South Africa? And is it the right tactic? And is it the right tactic when in the first half, the first 2 minutes, England scored by doing the exact opposite of that?
Yeah.
And the other bit is when England played New Zealand, and for the majority of that game, they played very well and were probably the better team for the majority of it, although they conspired to lose. But one of their most effective tactics in that game that drew them 4 penalties, drew them a yellow card, was actually the tip pass from the forward.
Yeah.
With an option either side and doing it right in the face of the attackers. And that drew 4 penalties from tackling the wrong man, tackling the man without the ball. But they hardly ever tried that against South Africa.
I think the risk that you take when you are playing in the opposition, say, 22, they just need to be narrowed down completely. And so you either you squeeze the penalty and then you play with freedom, or you go for the try by battering them. And I think that's all.
Or, as what happened in this game, you concede the penalty.
Yeah, quite. But, you need to have nice tight pods. You need your clearing game really on point, And that's just the way of the world. So really, you don't even want to be there. You want to be scoring when you're further out because the defence compresses. Sometimes you have a sweeping scrum half, and that's probably about it because you don't need anyone covering kicks. So playing that ball wide is not the panacea that you'd hope.
No, I don't think you don't necessarily need to play it wide. It was the fact that it was just one out.
You can keep with the variety. If it's on, go rather than robotically. We only do one pass. We take no risks in the 22.
And the one time that they did go wide in the 22 was the disallowed try for the Mario Itoje net roll, which, to be fair, I wouldn't have disallowed either try. I wouldn't have disallowed
Agreed.
the Fassi.
What's your thinking for that? What's your thinking?
Momentum. So I think from
Fassi was disallowed for me.
But that's from the...
I'd say it should have to be conclusive to overrule an on-field decision.
So there was the far out shot. You might know the technical term for it, but like the top down shot that it looked flat, particularly with his momentum. And then there was like from slightly behind his shoulder from the other side of the pitch. That it did definitely look like that it went forward from that. But I think it was because he'd given a try initially. I think the ball went flat out of his hands, but the momentum carried it forwards.
Maybe.
The Itoje one, I just felt he slipped up to touch the neck in a very competitive situation, very dynamic
It's frustrating that he'd actually got Malcolm Marks off the ball, job done, and he didn't need to fall sideways. But that's what I found frustrating about that. But I agree with you 100%. It shouldn't have come in. And to that point, the game that watched today, Wales against Australia, one thing I absolutely loved about James Dolman, the New Zealand referee,
yes, I want to talk about him.
Is he?
Sorry, was he? Oh, New Zealand. Right?
Yeah, he's a Kiwi, and it was Gareth Thomas cleaning out a ruck in the first half, and it was the referee that went. Do you know what? I think I might have seen a head contact there. I just want to check that. TMO, can you just check that for me? No, that's fine. On you go, and that's kind of how I want it to be done. And I hated in this England game.
That was after the Karevi yellow that became a red.
No, he did. No, he did that again with Ellis Bevan.
Oh, sorry.
So he did it one in each half, exactly the same. Where the referee said, "I would like to see this because I wasn't quite sure in real time what I saw, but I think it might have been something. I want to check it." And I like that way around. But the England South Africa game, Ben bloody Whitehouse interjecting himself.
Oh, the TMO, yeah.
Andrew Brace was running alongside Fassi. Chris Busby, the assistant referee, was in line, and they let it go. And he said, I need to show you this. And it wasn't conclusive.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Ben Whitehouse got a bit of a history of doing
Ben
this.
Whitehouse back the...
Well, I will just run to Ben Whitehouse's defence on two things, but I entirely agree with your point in that situation because it was not conclusive and I would have let the try stand. There were two penalties that got given in favour of England that were just completely overlooked on the pitch, but were clear penalties. One for Etzebeth slapping Cunningham South's hand at the top of the line out, and it got given as a knock-on on the pitch. But
and Colby pulling Stewart
pulling Stewart down in the air. Both of those were, and they should have been given penalties at the time. They were missed, and they were picked up correctly. I just think the Fassi one was being over pedantic.
Yeah. And certainly where tries are concerned, I don't know.
Yeah, I just want to pick up on your point about the New Zealand ref in
Wales, Australia.
Yeah. Who was it again?
James Dolman.
Thought he was excellent.
Yeah.
Thought he was really superb. I love the way every time there's a ruck and there's some sort of cheating going on. And you know what I mean? Like someone's fallen on the wrong side or even, well, the more likely cheating you're likely to see now is someone falls on the wrong side, but then the opposition players pin them there so they can't roll away. He's got his head right in there. No, he's been pinned. He's been pinned.
Yeah. Stop holding him in there.
Yeah, exactly.
You can play the ball. Refs
Really
are getting
good
so much smarter with that because that used to just be a guaranteed penalty.
Yeah, I always communicating, always dead level with the players, nice and consistent. Yeah, I thought he had an excellent game.
So I was in Twickenham. I don't know what it was like watching the game. I was in Twickenham. I went absolutely ballistic. It went off when Henry Slade scored that try.
Yeah,
it was disallowed. It went off. And I know we want the right outcomes and all the rest of it, but it's getting a little bit VAR-esque where you're not. Oh, can I celebrate? Should I just wait and make sure?
Yeah, which is a horrible place to be.
Yeah.
You must, because Twickenham, it sounded great.
It was bouncing.
The game. It sounded, so there was times where if you'd close your eyes watching on telly, there was a big cheer. So referee's whistle go, penalty, big cheer. And you didn't know whether it was an England penalty or a South African penalty because it sounded like...
There's a lot of green and gold.
Like almost, from the sound, 40, 60, something like that.
I reckon it was probably like that, yeah.
You must have felt right at home, Tim.
Walking around the stadium beforehand, honestly, it's because South Africans all wear their team
green
colours.
And gold, yeah.
It just looked... It was actually like... I was a bit freaked out. I was like, oh my God, it's... Felt like we'd been conquered or something. Invaded, yeah. There's a lot of green and gold.
Awesome.
Yeah.
No, the atmosphere did sound fantastic.
And the new, I know it's a boring thing to say, but the new light rig that Twickenham's got puts on a proper show now.
What is it?
Yeah. Really good.
Interesting.
No, it's they're fixed in the stadium now.
Yeah, but I think you can hire these things.
Oh, I don't know. But it was like they had a big laser show beforehand, which was... It was genuinely really good. Really good.
Good to hear. Did anyone see France?
Before,
sorry, go on.
I was going to say, I've got an email here from James O'Riordan. O'Riordan, sorry.
O'Riordan?
O'Riordan. James, thank you very much, James. Contact eggchasers@gmail.com. He says, still love the pod, lads. Blah. As the entire rugby media jumped on the Marcus Smith bandwagon, they continued to search for excuses that are not laid at his door. First, it was because Marcus wasn't starting at 10. Then it was because Faz was playing 12. Then it was because he was taken off at 60 minutes. So what now? It's defence, it's penalties, it's the scrum, etc. Here's a theory that no one dare speak. The fundamental issue is that Marcus thinks he has to deliver a miracle play every time he gets the ball. He can't just pass, unless it's a 30-yard miss pass to a stationary winger. When England get into the quote-unquote red zone, it means they have one shot to score. They don't keep pressure on for any length of time. Watch Ireland when Prendergast came on. He organised and distributed time and again, keeping the RGs in their 22, having to defend under pressure, constantly testing the defence, not reliant on the bounce of the ball. Finally, with Lawrence, Slade, Furbank, etc. outside, how many strike moves from the backs this autumn? 0. Again, it starts and ends with Smith. He's holding them back.
No. Not having any of that.
Yeah, so I don't think that. And I said last week something that could be considered a little bit similar or a little bit in that vein, but I think it's different. So I do agree that Smith does those miracle things because we see them lots and lots of time.
Yeah.
He also does a lot of the basics very, very well. And in the last few years, his kicking game, his controlling game has massively, massively improved. Just because he does the miracle stuff does not prevent him or exclude him from doing that basic stuff. What I said last week is I wonder if he fits in well with the Borthwick style, which is more...
I think you're onto it there.
More entirely process-driven, and he can do that, but he also does the miracle stuff.
So here's why I don't think that's right. I think he does fit in fine. And Borthwick actually needs the magic for the process to work because he'll get you somewhere and then, Marcus has got to do something with it in order to score. And I think that juxtaposition between the extreme process and what Marcus Smith brings is brilliant. I also think of the things that England did well, which we've not actually spoke about yet, but I think the things they did well, I thought the physicality was ace. I thought Sam Underhill was absolutely magnificent.
He was superb, yeah.
I think Cunningham himself did not have his best game, but, it's just one of those things.
Only if you count Premiership, Champions Cup and International Rugby, so not Premiership Cup, not under 20s, that was only his third 80-minute match his whole career.
Himself?
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
It's quite a good start, that, isn't it? So, the way Marcus Smith was attacking in the first, I think, 20 minutes, those lovely little crossfield kicks, I mean, that is... I think a glimpse into the future of rugby. It might not even be the future. That is actually how rugby is played now, which is you need a guy who can kick tactically as well as he can pass tactically. Marcus Smith can do that. Some of the switches of play I thought were really, really good.
The dummy drop goal in minute 3 was ace. Twickenham must have gone nuts.
If you've got this process-driven thing and we're worried about one-up rugby and so on and so forth, having a guy that can do something completely different when called upon, I think is great. Just on the crossfield kicks, South Africa were great at them, really great at them. Wales were pretty good at times today. Did Ireland use them much?
England had a bit of change out of them. Tommy Freeman recovered one in South Africa's 22.
Yeah. Some of the
Freddie Stewart got a couple. That was defensively more.
Freddie Stewart defensively was.
Yeah.
I mean, I have criticised Freddie Stewart a lot
for having the turning circle of oil tanker.
Yeah, and he's not going to live down that attempted tackle on Colby anytime soon.
I quickly worked out that my opponent had the turning. I can't do the Brian Habana.
Was slow
slowing the turn.
Yeah, he's a bit softer than that.
Yeah, so one of the bright spots would be Marcus Smith. I don't think there's anything wrong with Marcus Smith.
No, I totally agree. I think it's an interesting point that's raised. I don't actually. I think you raised an interesting conversation, James. I actually think, Phil, you're on the money, and that it's the disconnect between Marcus Smith and Steve Borthwick. I think it is noticeable, and to James's point, I think he's absolutely on the money. There weren't any strike moves. They tried one strike move in this where Ollie Lawrence got absolutely atomised by Jesse Creel.
Yeah, and
Lawrence is good as well.
So I think that on the strike move, so England have showed over a reasonable period of time under Borthwick that their best strike moves come from lineouts.
Yep.
England's lineout success was, according to what I've got in front of me, 89%, so 1 out of 19 that they missed, which is very good against South Africa.
Mm-hmm.
But that statistic is a bit like saying that the average human has one testicle. Because while it is true, it entirely misses the point.
Yeah.
Because maybe 50% of that 89% was quality line-up ball where they got it clean and they could actually do something with it.
Yeah.
South Africa did so well disrupting them. Even when England got ball, they were limited to do
It's exactly the same as rucks, isn't it? You won all your rucks, but what was the quality?
Yeah.
How fast was it?
And there were four, so Charlie Morgan made this point, so it's not my own thinking.
Morgonian drift.
That South Africa was so good at defending the rear line-out that they forced England to go to the front, which is both easier for them to disrupt, but also terrible to do a strike move off.
Yeah, it's funny you mention that, because this is another... sorry, I was going to make some predictions then. I didn't. I got carried away. So, crossfield kicks. I think we're going to see the next evolution of this very soon, which is running attacks becoming much more prevalent than crossfield kicks, because I think teams are going to have to adjust to deal with these crossfield kicks. They're so dangerous. So we saw all of these kicks this week. I think we're going to see a changing tactics to cover the crossfield kicks, which is going to open up the running game quite a bit more. The other thing I thought exactly this about lineouts, and it's on my notes, which is the riskiest throw, not because it's hard to do, but because of the timing, in international rugby is going to be the back jumper, which is the precise opposite to amateur rugby. Because in amateur rugby, if your throw is okay and you can hit the back, just hit the back all the time, because no one's ever going to stop you. They're just never going to stop you. You've opened up the whole line out. With the professional game, this is not the case, because everyone can jump, everyone can lift. Mm-hmm. And if you give those boys, what does it take the ball to get there? 3 seconds? And that's why it's so strongly contested. So the only way you can get really good back ball is to bait the jump with movement further up the line to go to the back of the line, and it becomes really difficult. And even then, if you don't get that precisely right, your back options become limited. And as soon as you start disrupting back ball and you can press that line out, as Morgan pointed out, it then gets messy, because you've got a forest of hands. Mm-hmm. So, I think that... I think going to the back is now going to become the far riskier of the options.
Well, particularly when you've got that South African line out disrupting, and you've got Etzebeth and Peter Steph-Totoy and Sneeman in there. Man,
Sneeman's good.
Yeah. So it's
the first time him and Etzebeth have started together.
That just blew my mind.
Yeah.
That absolutely blew my mind.
Well, I guess we're always in that one. They had Sneeman, Etzebeth,
Moster started so much.
Diego, who no one even talks about.
Oh, God,
and Peter Steph-Totoy back in the day.
Yeah.
I mean, people forget Diego was the best lock in the world for a little while.
Pretty much, yeah. Well, him and Etzebeth starting was...
But where he is, he nearly got fit for the World Cup.
Serious, mega injury. So he's been...
Really?
It's one of those. So we'll see. Just on that. Oh, sorry, you're going to...
Yeah, I was going to say, do you know the other thing about kicking and wings, which I think is going to... I don't know if it's going to revolutionise the game as such, but it's certainly something which people should do. Have your second or third kicker as wingers. Because I don't know if you noticed, James Lowe does a lot of kicking for Ireland.
He does, yeah.
Because he's left-footed. But how dangerous it is for teams, and how safe it is for the team doing it, to wing the ball wide, almost like you're dummying an attack to get to your kicker to boot it. So I noticed Ireland can always move that ball in their own 22, free of risk, because they know it's going to end up in the hands of their primary kicker, and he can boot it. And what effect does that have on the opposition? Well, they're thinking, well, they're not going to run it. They're not going to run it. Are they going to run it? Are they going to run it?
Yeah.
And then he kicks it.
Your winger, when he gets to the winger, the man covering back has got to come up because he's going to run.
Exactly.
As soon as he comes up, you kick. And
it's one, so if you had, I think Hansen's a fairly decent footballer as well.
Yeah.
But particularly with Lowe. So I'd like to see all wingers now become basically expert kickers.
Yeah.
Because just that ability to shift the ball wide, because you're going to clear it anyway, it's your clearing call, and then just mess around with the defence or just attack.
It's one of the reasons why Elliot Daly's been such a handy player, both for the long range kicking, but also kicking out of hand. He's very, very good. You just mentioned Freddie Stewart actually a second ago.
Yeah.
And he has taken some stick for this game. For the two incidents, the Grant Williams one, which I have sympathy for.
The mistake was ahead of him.
The mistake was ahead of him.
He should never have been left to a one-on-one.
In the Grant Williams, I think there's almost no one in the world that makes that more than 2 out of 10, that tackle on him. Yeah. Like even if you put Cheslin and Colby at 15 there, or Antoine Dupont, who are maybe two of the best people in the world to make that tackle, 2 out of 10. Freddie Stewart's not making that tackle. The Colby one, I also have some sympathy for.
I do as well. I reckon it's a terrible camera angle.
So the two things,
but it is funny.
What I say about this, it is quite
so
funny. So I think this should be celebrated. Colby he is genius in this because he knows, or intuitively, whether he explicitly knows it or it's just instinct. So the ball,
unconsciously competent.
Or it might just be 100% instinct. This, the ball is coming over Freddie Stewart's head. Freddie Stewart cannot see where the ball is. Colby actually steps ahead of where the ball's going to go, and then as he takes the ball, he steps back to take the ball. Freddie Stewart is half a yard. So Colby stepped half a yard in front of where the ball is. Freddie Stewart knows that as soon as he gets the ball, but he doesn't know when he's going to get the ball, he's going to go forward. So Freddie Stewart is another half a yard in front of him. And when Colby steps back to take the ball, he creates a one.
It's almost like he doesn't step. He almost just sort of transfers his weight from the front foot to the back foot.
It's a shift of weight, but he shifts the weight away from the line. And Freddie Stewart, because he can't see the ball, he doesn't know when it's going to land. He doesn't know where it's going to land. He's expecting him to immediately shift it forward towards the line. It's absolute genius by Colby. Yeah. So I have some sympathy for that. Where I actually don't have sympathy and where he was a definite cock-up is the disallowed try. He once again found himself. He sprints up into no man's land. He sprints up in between Fassi and Aranza and takes absolutely no one. And he got his blushes spared on that because of the, I think, incorrectly given forward pass. Yeah. But I think apart from that, I have so much sympathy for those other two, and I thought he was brilliant in the air. And then taking it forward, so carrying in the heavy traffic that inevitably ensued.
Colby's had a brilliant 2024. He was so good in the Rugby Championship, which brings me to tomorrow, the nominees for World Player of the Year get announced. There's going to be 4 nominees. Who do you reckon it'll be?
DuPont 4 times.
It's only on.
He's not winning it.
It's only on international rugby.
He's not winning it.
They don't count club rugby or sevens rugby. It's international 15s rugby. He's only played 2 tests.
Still wins it.
Oxenishee? He won't because he's a prop. We've discussed it before.
Oxenishee, Peter Steph Tatoy.
Give it to Peter Steph.
Cody Taylor could be a nominee.
Possibly. Has he been the
Ben
best?
Earl could be a nominee. Caelan Doris could be a nominee.
Ardy's been brilliant for New Zealand.
I think Caelan Doris and Ben Earl have been better than him as number 8s.
I think the 2 games that I've watched of Caelan Doris, I don't think he's played particularly well in the last 2 games.
No, I don't either.
No, not the last 2 games. He was amazing in the Six Nations and in South Africa.
Amazing in the Six Nations. Peter Steph.
Tommaso Menoncello.
Menoncello's a lovely player.
He was the player of the Six Nations.
Was he? Did he win it? Wow. Fair play.
We all have dreams. Dream home renovations, dream vacations, or sending our kids to their dream colleges. But finding straightforward ways to turn those dreams into realistic goals, that's where things get tricky. Merrill understands that. That's why, with a dedicated Merrill advisor, you get a personalized plan and a clear path forward. And having the bull at your back helps your whole financial life move with you. So when your plans change, Merrill is with you every step of the way. Go to ml.com/bullish to learn more. Merrill, a Bank of America company. What would you like the power to do? Investing involves risk. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner & Smith Incorporated, registered broker-dealer, registered investment advisor, member SIPC.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
It could be, they've had that good a year, it could be a South African clean sweep on the nominations, which has never happened before.
Marcus Smith could get nominated. It's
Stretch.
I think he's playing amazing rugby. I really do.
He is playing amazing rugby, I agree.
It's England are not winning, so that's a problem.
I'd love to see Peter Steph-Toy win it, just because I love Peter Steph-Toy.
I think he might. I'd like to see Oxenchae win it, but Peter Steph-Toy.
I'd love to see a prop. A prop's never been nominated.
Never been nominated.
Or Malvaka. He's had a tremendous year, actually.
He was amazing at the World Cup. He was the best hooker in the world last year. We'll come on to that game in a sec.
Aldrich's dropped off a bit.
He's coming back into form, though.
Yeah, he played all right yesterday.
The last couple of games have been really good. Yeah. Do you know, by the way, Aldrich doesn't wear a scrum cap anymore, which always just looks weird now.
Yeah.
Do you know the reason?
Sponsorship run out?
No. The top 14 in France, and I love this rule. I love the top 14. You have to have colour-coordinated scrum caps.
Oh, I see.
And Aldrich didn't clashed with it. It wasn't the La Rochelle colours. So he got a fine, and he went, right, I'm not wearing a scrum cap anymore.
Scrum cap again.
I'll show them.
that's why he doesn't wear one.
He needs to speak to Chris Tshunza, because he always wears the yellow and black one, doesn't he?
Oh, I'm sure there's plenty of companies that happily make him a La Rochelle scrum cap.
He got fined for... Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Can you just wear a black one, then?
You can wear black or black and yellow. Or yellow. It just has to be the same colour as your kit.
Yeah, I'd say that. I didn't ever like Jack Noel wearing Red Bull, or indeed his blue one, or Maurice Bothwell, or Tom Johnson.
I was going to say, Tom Johnson and Maurice Bothwell were the red ones, weren't they?
I think red's okay for England.
And wasn't it? Because that was right for England, but it was Haskell and Jack Noel. You both used to wear blue scrum caps.
That's the one. Yeah. Not having that.
That like slightly light pale blue. Yeah, not for England.
No.
I'm okay with the rule. I think there should be a warning first before you might have had 10 written warnings for all I know.
Yeah,
but
I think
it seems
really
harsh.
fun. Like you only allowed one piece of protective gear, and you had to decide it's a scrum hat or gum shield
or shin pads.
Shin pads. Yeah, one shin pad.
Dupont, just back to that. Dupont could win Sevens Player of the Year. Should be pretty cool.
mean, I'm amazed if he doesn't.
Yeah, he probably should do. But it also feels harsh on all the Sevens players who it is their career. Yeah. This guy just shows up for 5 minutes.
There's a reason that they're Sevens players, though, isn't there?
Yeah, that's
There's
true.
a reason Dupont is the best Sevens player.
And
the best Sevens player of all time.
And
after having played it for 6 months.
Satiti's going to get the breakthrough player, surely.
Satiti's a good shout.
And I reckon the nominees might be Sasha Feinberg-Ngomzulu.
He should definitely been there. Yeah.
And Emmanuel Feiwa-Boso.
Feiwa-Boso's a good shout.
Great shout.
Yeah. And maybe Chandler Cunningham South.
Yeah, Bielbury.
He's been around. It's only 2020. You have to have made your debut this year.
Oh, wow.
Oh, my God.
He's so good.
He's
good. So fast. You see it when he just...
Severis
left him for dead.
Severis alongside him.
I have no words for that boy. He is
He's 21 tiny. I mean, that's a brave kid.
Yes, that is a brave kid.
When he started kicking the ball, when I first saw it, so he kicks the ball, doesn't he? He scores there.
It was Ramos who kicked it through. I think it was.
Oh, yeah, but he does it a lot, doesn't he?
He does,
his win, and then he just stabs it through. Yeah, lucky. Yeah, lucky. Yeah, lucky. And
like
that's not lucky.
The 10th time you've seen it.
Inevitable. Like, as soon as he kicks that ball, and then he accelerates, it's magnificent. The boy's magnificent. I love him. I absolutely love him.
He's so fast. He's so skinny. He's so light.
Yeah.
He is.
He's not even like powerfully built, is he?
No, not at all.
So you look at like Feiwa-Boso, you understand why he's fast. Like, oh yeah, look at that build. You know, the thing,
Faye Weboso. So England released. There was a little YouTube short thing of the boys in the ice bath last week.
Yeah.
Faye Weboso, considering he's only been a professional athlete for 2 years, he looks like a fitness model. His rig is astonishing.
Slight home as well. He's another guy. You look at him, he must be fast. Like they've got powerful builds.
I think I must have mentioned it on the pod before, but Clive Woodward, one of the reasons England won the World Cup in 2003, as well as having very, very good players, is that he modernised the conditioning of the England team and made them train like professionals. Yeah. At one point at England training in maybe 2001 or whatever it was, 2001, 2002, he got Josh Lucey to stand up on a chair in the changing room with his, with just a pair of pants on and said, "Boys, that's what you need to look like."
Jason Leonard was like, I can't look like that.
I'm going to say a name which you've not considered for a long time, or if you have, I'll be surprised. But this was a fad that players had 15 years ago, employing their own coaches, but in particular, a sprint coach. You never hear sprint coaches now.
Tom Vandell. Is that the name? Was he one of the people that employed this coach?
I'm not sure. Danny Cipriani
did.
Same. Dan Luger did.
Mike Brown did.
Margot Wells.
Oh yeah.
Do you remember her?
Margot, yeah.
And I'm sure they did some training. I'm not sure Margot Wells did this, but didn't they do eye training at some point?
So the 2003
Clive Woodward had an eye coach.
Definitely did
an eye
training.
Coach.
Yeah.
I mean,
they had computer programs that they all watched, and they would train with. This was radical at the time. They would train with.
That's radical now.
They would train with golf balls and baseballs and cricket balls and tennis balls, footballs as well as rugby balls. So that when they're passing, they were never sure quite. Some balls were heavy, some balls were.
I was about to swear then. I hate this. I absolutely hate it. We've done it in training. Here's a golf ball. Here's a small football. I just want to volley it as far as I can over the fence. Like, get that shit off my field. Like, we're here to play rugby. I'm never going to catch a golf ball in a game. Why am I practicing with a golf ball? It is nonsense of the highest order. Although, I mean, we used to warm up with these drills, and they were. The only reason you do it is because it's fun. No practical reason. And also saw this in. I went to watch Edinburgh train, so I spent a day with Edinburgh. And Jonathan Humphreys has got a tennis ball and a tennis racket, and he just hits this tennis ball to a semicircle forward, so you have to go and catch it one hand.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's in no way conducive to monstering another pack. It's just not. Just do it because you're waiting for the boss to show up, not because you think it's going to make you better players. It's not.
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
Quite right.
Duck, dive, something
dip,
duck, dive, dip, dodge and duck.
Well, before we get into the French game, shall we break it up with some local rugby?
Oh, yes, please. But Sedgley lost again. Sedgley got beat by Rotherham this time.
Did they?
Yeah, I think 30-35.
Do you know your brother got on against Plymouth this weekend?
Richmond? No, I don't know. I know he really enjoyed going back there because this is one of his old clubs.
Of course it is, yeah.
But Richmond have been doing really well this year in National 1. I'm just having a look at
Richmond won 15-20 away.
Result.
That's a good result against Ryan Lamb's Plymouth Albion.
And the National 1 League table, Rams and Richmond are played 10-1-9.
And Richmond, bloody hell, are they there with Rams? I did not know that.
Oh, no, Rams have played 10-1-10 and Richmond have played 10-1-9.
Yeah, so we have played 10-1-9. And we played this weekend against Tarleton. Now, Tarleton claim that this is the best team that they've ever had, or one of the best teams that they've ever had. I personally think they were much better, not much better, but better about 3-4 years ago. And they were really, really good.
When you were also a better team.
Yeah, and they ran us bloody close. And again, they ran us. I am still astonished to this day how we won that game yesterday. They were uniformly 6'2" to 6'3", absolutely jacked. Good rugby players too. It's not like they were just jacked in there to make up the numbers. They were flinging passes everywhere, and somehow we beat them after going 10-0 down, and we won in the end 18-16.
18-16,
with
nice.
The last kick of the game.
Oh, nice.
Oh, nice.
That is always a good feeling.
But here's something interesting for you. So, Tarleton, if I have this right, have a pitch based on 7 acres of basically farmland just outside of Preston. It's an awesome club. And actually, I think I'm going to expand on this point a little bit in a second. But clubs all around the lower leagues are really struggling at the moment. Taunton aren't, because they've got a great offering to lads to come down and play. And, people should be taking notice of what clubs do who have lots of players and how do they do it. Now, Taunton, I suspect, of maybe bringing in a smattering of quality for a bit of money, but it doesn't matter. I mean, they've got a great team there, and they're going places. They also want to get 22 acres more land and build like a paddle sort of complex, and just
paddle is a big money spinner.
Yeah, just all sorts of if you want to talk about a club that is not in managed decline and actually wants to go somewhere because it wants to forge its own history, you want to be looking at lads like that. Whereas there's other teams in our league who are actively talking about, oh God, what do we do when these guys retire? That's it. Like, it's all doom and gloom. Now, in order to do this, and I think it's fair to say a lot of clubs who are wanting to expand face the same problem. Go talk to the RFU. Joe, what help is available to you?
They'll help you get a paddle court, won't they? They'll help you get funding for a paddle court.
They will help you do absolutely nothing. They will refer you to like a video, how to raise money, or how to build a paddle court, or like a YouTube thing. But why they don't send their so-called experts around to go and look at clubs like Tarleton, or indeed Toc H, or any of the others which are thriving at the moment, and say, well, what are you doing which is best practice? Because if you talk to an RFU rep about what should your club look like, it's so ubiquitous. You must have a ladies, you must have a colts, you must have a age range, and they have no idea about building an offer and giving it to your local demographic. They have no idea because they don't consider it, because they're basically textbook type people. In fact, they're not even that good. But very, very impressed with the Tarleton setup.
Just on that, on a broader point, based on what you said. So reading between the lines, Didsbury Toc HR played 10-1-9, and last year you were mid-table.
Yeah,
and you think you're objectively a not as higher quality side as you were last year.
No. Last year we were definitely worse than this year. But the year before that, we were much, much, much better.
Okay,
so
fine.
The team we have now, I would say, are not as good as the team which we had 2 years ago.
And where did the team 2 years ago finish?
First. Win the league, I think.
Okay.
No, we didn't. We became second.
Oh, right. So, no, okay.
And the year before that, we won the league, but there was no promotion.
That's a slightly rosier picture, because very anecdotally, and I'd be interested to know, contact EggChasers@gmail.com if this is broadly what people are recognising, but just in the anecdotal rugby that I've seen, whether this is just because it's university rugby and something changed in the age groups in the couple of years, that maybe the last couple of years, there might be something to do with participation where it dropped off a cliff a few years ago. Who knows? But the university team I coach finished mid-table in a league last year. Our team's got a little bit better because the university's recruited a little bit more. The rest of the league has tanked. It's not one club or two clubs. It's the rest, to the point that 101-0 and the game abandoned after 60 minutes on Wednesday.
That's awful.
It's dreadful. And I just want to say fair play to the lads from Bangor for
sticking at it.
For
showing up in the first place.
And actually, one of the things I was really proud of as a coach is our lads weren't taking the piss. Or that they didn't take the piss. They could have just stuck the knife in, laughed, but they were actually like encouraging to them as they were playing them. Like,
the worst thing I could ever imagine happening.
No, just like I don't mean like come on, try and keep up.
Yeah.
I mean they just weren't making it worse. They were kind of kind of fair play for playing, lads.
I was talking to my friend Chippy, who's also a coach at Toc H. And he played for Glossop. He played a pretty high level when Glossop were going well. And he's like, you would be a nightmare to play at JB. I was like, why? Because you're nice to people. I fucking hate it. I hate people. When I'm playing, I don't want to be nice to anyone. I don't want anyone to be nice to me. And it is the worst thing I can possibly think of. And like, you just saying that then, So I was like, oh, come on, mate, you're scrimmaging really well. I'm like, absolutely do one. I don't like the only reason I'm nice is because I hate people being nice to me. I'd much rather have someone really confrontational on top of me so I can be nice to them rather than, I'd hate it.
Come on, mate, you make a tackle next time.
Oh, God, you're scrimmaging really well. Am I? Don't lie to me.
When you're 80-0 down.
Exactly.
But anecdotally, there's a rugby club in the Manchester area that's had to abandon its first team. I just get the sense that maybe the chickens are coming home to roost a little bit slowly but surely.
Do you want to talk about that now or on Patreon?
No, I'll talk about it now because we'll talk about Ugo Money on Patreon.
Oh, okay.
Or something.
Something else.
So there's a club right by us called Obedience. It's a really good club. I've actually played for Obedience 2 or 3 times, and growing up in Manchester, growing up, I didn't grow up here, but playing my rugby around here. Obedience were always like a fun club to play for.
Yeah, it's one of those clubs that was born out of its connection to a school. St. Bede's was the school, and Obedience was the old boys' school, but then it became a rugby club in its own right.
Yeah, and you would always see them out in Didsbury, and there'd always be good lads, and it made me want to go and play for them. I did maybe 3 or 4 times when I had a free weekend. They have pulled their first team out of the league below us, or maybe the league below that, canned it all together, and are now going to enter their first team into the second team league, which would play
their second team is continuing, but is effectively the first team for the remainder of this season.
Yeah. And I think this is wild.
So they're not running a first team; they're only running a second team. So the first team players play second team.
So I mean, it's ridiculously sad. And I say it's sad in the most genuine way because there is no point in having one club in an area. You want 5, 6, 7 clubs. You want many local derbies. I mean, you saw how much it meant to me to play Broughton Park and beat them, and how much it's going to mean to them when they finally get one over on us, which will happen because that's just a cycle of sports, right? And it should mean something. And if Broughton Park went around, I mean, Bedians were actually the original sort of Derby Day game for us. At Toc H, it's always been Bedians Toc H, and now it's like maybe Toc H, maybe, I don't know, Ashton Mersey or something like that. But it's just sad. Now, I think one of the reasons people are walking away from rugby, I mean, this is not a brag, I'm not saying this to sort of show off or whatnot. The biggest problem we have in Didsbury is giving the lads enough touches of the ball because we have so many lads. We have anywhere up to 50 boys every single week, right? And that's just enormous.
Why aren't they playing at Bedians?
Because they want to be with us. They want to be at Toc H. Now and I'm not. This is not a judgment on what they do down there because I have no idea. I can't talk about what they do there. But in my mind, right, if you have an RFU style, and again, I'm not looking at the RFU. I'm just using it sort of like so people understand what I'm trying to say. If you have this idea about coaching grassroots rugby, quote unquote, that somehow it's not serious, like it's for participation. You're meant to have fun. It's about enjoyment and inclusion. Like, you're going to be onto a loser. Like, from the very start, you'll be onto a loser. Like, people have pretty boring lives, and they come to rugby to do something fairly unusual. And particularly with men, like, you want to challenge them, you want to make them miserable, so that the reward at the end is the happiness. And I think all of these teams that are struggling for players, I mean, it's multifactorial, but one of the things that I think is, when they get to training, are they being challenged? Are they being... or is it miserable enough? Is there enough discipline? Is there enough guidance? Because I think people need it.
It also is a little bit of inertia, momentum. I'm trying to think what the right word is, or gravity. It's like gravity, actually, because you have enough numbers. That makes sessions more fun to be around, which attracts numbers. We've all been in those situations where the numbers start to get a bit thin, and it's not as good. It's the quality of the sessions aren't as good, and that makes you not want to go to the next session. It just spirals it down.
12 lads this week, there's only going to be 9 lads next week,
it's
and then there'll
really
be 7 lads
hard.
the week after that.
I was talking to a coach about this today, and he's struggling. He's in the Midlands. I was like, look, if you should training on, like this Tuesday, you got 8, and you're training on Thursday, and you got 10, and I think a lot of clubs will be listening to this and go, yep, that is us. But you think in the back of your mind, oh God, we have to train twice a week because that's what good clubs do, and you're only getting 18 across the entire week. Throw it in the bin. I think I would honestly say we do not train on Thursday unless we train on Tuesday, and we don't train on Tuesday unless 21 of you commit. And if you don't commit to Tuesday, I cancel the game. If I was in charge of a club and that was my numbers, that's what I would do straight away.
Well, I gave that example. I forget. Is it not Old Eltamians? It's a different club. I can't remember. Oh, it was the lads that I stayed with in that house in Nice. I forget the club. Sorry, boys, I've forgotten the name of the club. I'll have to look it up. But they are they're very proudly the highest standard of non-training teams.
Yeah.
So they just turn up on a Saturday.
Yeah. And that's a classic example of the offer.
Yeah.
What is your offer? So the first thing you do is don't train twice a week. Train once a week. Make sure that all of your resources are in that one night a week, and therefore you don't have the players go, do you know what? I'll sack off Tuesday because it's still Thursday, and then it gets Thursday and they can't come. You have to make Tuesday. That will double your numbers to start with, and then you will have your inertia, and then you can run the sessions that you want. But I think this nicey approach as well to rugby, like, oh, we're here to learn. It's a learning environment. Shut up. It's not. You just do exactly as we say. Exactly as we say. Not that we're not open to changes, but in order for us to be successful, you have to do exactly as we say, and we've all got to work hard. You've got to realise that you're working hard for each other. And I think you've got to make it really difficult and really sort of can't quite put my finger on. It's like joint endeavour, which will make you come back. It's a learning environment. I hate that stuff. Playing with bloody golf balls and stuff. Ugh. Do you know what I mean? Like was essentially easy. Was it nice?
Oh no, never. The back pitch, particularly when as we frequently were back in those days, we were losing. Playing in National 1 Tier 2, the number of horrendous, 80-minute full contact smash up sessions on a Tuesday on the back
Tuesday
pitches.
night, yeah.
The back pitches in mid-November, December, January of Sedgley, covered in sand, exposed. They're looking southwest. It's high up. You got the wind directly coming across it. It's a bloody hard place.
It's
to
lovely,
be.
isn't it? Coming off that field, thinking that you've done something that most right-minded people would hate to do.
Yeah.
But also,
in
do
December.
you know what just popped into my head then as well? Is I remember a time at Newbury when I was not in the start. I wasn't in the starting team, so it was my job on the Tuesday night on this occasion to be the blindside flanker as the first choice back row were being coached their new back row moves. So I basically just had the number. And it must have been about 30 times. Had the number 8 just running off the base at me. But I remember, over the course of that 30 tackles, it was like, right, this is. I didn't know when it was going to end. Right, and just got into that pain cave. Right, I'm going to smash you. I'm so desperate to be that guy there.
Yeah.
That I'm going to smash you to try and make an impact.
Do you remember the sessions we used to have at Broughton Park? They were not technical, and it was live line out some more over and over again. I could not be happier. It's like, here we go again. Oh, then the really savagely hard scrummaging against the machine for hours. And you'd just be, hours. I mean, it felt like hours. It's probably like, you probably spent, I'm sure Lloydie made us hit that machine, but hold the hit for 3, 4, 5 seconds. And if it went back a bit, screwed. Do it again. Miserable. But that's what you want. You want it to be miserable because it's the misery that gets you through to the other end, which is the happiness. And I think the if you just skip a whole lot and go, it's all about just being nice. Be nice and add value. No, make them miserable to make them happy.
Yes, now you're talking.
Yeah.
I do. There is definitely something, it can't just be misery, but there is something in that. The shared experience of hardship does bring you together, bring you closer.
Rocky beats Ivan Drago because he spent that time in the shed lifting rocks.
Exactly right. So no, I'd be really interested if you're a club out there, right, and you're actually doing very, very well at level 6, 7. You got your numbers up. Just let us know what you're doing. It'd be really cool to find out. What are you doing? Which your other club?
Yeah, let's use the podcast to share a bit of best practice.
Yeah, because there must be loads of best practice out there. I mean, I'm pretty confident. I mean, maybe I'm confident because I just happen to be part of a great club that has loads of numbers. But I'm pretty confident that I'd be able to get numbers anywhere. I'm absolutely certain of it. I just don't think it's that hard. Rugby's a great sport and everyone should want to play it. Why isn't everyone want to play it?
Here's one bit of best practice. Lim, who are in, I think, is that level 5? Or level 4? I can't remember what.
5. I want to say
they're high. 5, I think.
5. So it's the level at which people start chucking money around in that league.
Big time. It's probably your highest possible level of pure amateur rugby.
Yeah, but there's money floating around in that league.
Definitely. Yeah, it's very hard to win there without money.
Lim are top. They don't pay any money.
They're not.
They give their boys beer tokens.
Good.
And
declare those on your tax return. You semi-pro. I've done it myself.
And they and they hook them up with. I think it's curry. I think they might get some food after training, but it's just a few beer tokens. That's it, and they've just created a culture.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's probably a reason that the Marines make you link arms and do sit-ups in streams and whatnot. I mean, it's the misery that binds them together. That's why front rows like each other.
So National 2 North, so they're level 4.
Level 4.
They don't pay anyone.
Jesus. And looking at the names, of the teams that they're playing against: Fylde, Tynedale, Wharfdale.
It's good going, that, isn't it?
Preston Grasshoppers.
Tynedale's coach, yeah, it's amazing.
Otley.
Genuinely amazing.
Yeah, Leeds Tykes are in that league now.
Yeah.
So there's some real institutions of the national leagues in there. Like really, like Wharfdale.
Tynedale is coached by someone who I've already mentioned today.
Ooh.
Margot Wells.
No,
Margot Wells is George of the Pack. No,
Fernsey. It's got to be Fernsey.
Fernsey does Tynedale.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Very nice. Yeah.
Well, after we, so contact eggchasers@gmail.com. Let's share a bit of best practice. Let's talk about Stade de France. I was at Twickenham and it was brilliant, but if I could have picked anywhere to have been across the weekend, it would have been in Paris.
Yeah.
That
So
just looked awesome.
For all of the displays of excellence, and I don't even like the All Blacks. I mean, I really do not like the All Blacks for various reasons. The player of the weekend for me was Mighty Williams.
The Mighty Williams.
Oh my good Lord, he's dominant. Like the way he went through. Is it Jean-Henri Colomb?
Georges-Henri Colomb.
Yeah. Who is a large human.
He's a big boy, isn't he?
He is a substantial human being, and he got absolutely destroyed. Absolutely destroyed. I mean, this is real grown-up rugby. That front row that New Zealand have got are going to be.
Yeah.
I think you said it before, but they are going to be amazing. They are going to be. I mean, if they're not already amazing, they're just going to get more amazing.
What I did find impressive, though, from that perspective about France, and Antoine Dupont talked about this in the post-match interview, France solved the problems.
How do you mean?
Themselves. So their line-out was getting done.
Yep.
Their scrum was getting done. Mm-hmm. And in the second half, they completely turned it around. And Antoine Dupont said that, they sorted the stuff out just on a technical level at half-time. We need to do this, we need to do this, we need to do this. Right, fine. And then it was very early in the second half. Despite the fact their line-out had been getting rinsed, they went for the corner, backed the line-out, and went and executed and delivered. And so that's what I found quite good about that. What I would say overall about these two teams is this was New Zealand's chance to beat France.
Yeah.
Because New Zealand have been getting better and better. And Scott Robertson's imprint on this All Black team is starting to really bed in.
What do you think they are, though? I'm trying to work out what this version of New Zealand do. And they just seem to be a very, very good conventional rugby team. Nothing more than that. I don't see them having any of the magic of previous All Blacks teams.
Both France and New Zealand kick a deceptive amount, so they have a lot. They have a lot of variety in their game. They have backs with amazing skills, and they have a nasty forward pack with X factor back row. Which is fairly conventional.
But the X factor in the back row in now that you've got Satiti as well as Surveyor, because Surveyor's always
that guy looks good.
Yeah.
They use a lot instead of the centres to carry the ball.
Yes. I think you've got balance in the back three as well, because I love Will Jordan. He's such a good player, such a balanced
Not
runner.
a fullback, though.
I think he can play wherever, to be honest. He had a bit of a quiet game this week, but he scores a try almost every single week. He was pretty close to a 1-to-1 try to appearance ratio. I love that they've got Caleb Clark as well, who's just a massive bulldozer.
Again, yeah, he is. He's a massive bulldozer. He wasn't. I don't think he's reached the heights he needs to reach, though. I don't think he's physical enough yet. So he's very physical, but I just don't think he's breaking enough tackles to warrant what we think he is.
I mean, they've got some points of difference there. The bit that they need is the tight five, which they're starting to do, but the tight five to step up more. Because they've got everything. They've got all the options elsewhere. Apart from maybe the scrum half, but Roygaard.
Backup 9. Roygaard.
Roygaard now he's back fit
Yeah.
after a horrendous knee injury. He is class. And he's just the first 3 games he's played this year have been on tour. So I think they've got all the parts to be the real deal.
Yeah, I think they'll be like a top 3 side for a long, long time. But I don't think they're going to be the outstanding side in World Rugby for maybe
I
ever.
think they could be in 27.
When they were
Potentially.
what I would say though, when New Zealand were the best team in the world comfortably, which in the last 20 plus years is only in 2015. So they've won 2 in the last 20 years. Over 20 years. They've won 2 World Cups. They were back-to-back in 2011 and 2015. 2011, they won by 1 or 2 points. Basically, France blew it in the final as much as New Zealand won it. 2015, they comfortably won that tournament. They were the best team in the world. As much because all the other teams were bad rather than them being good. South Africa were imploding. They'd picked the oldest team that have ever graced a rugby pitch, way past where they should have been. They got lost to Japan. South Africa were nothing like the team they are now. England, we always back ourselves at home, went out in the group stages. Wales,
wonderful tournament.
Ireland, at that point, I don't think they'd beaten the All Blacks yet. They hadn't transcended to the team that they were now.
Yeah.
Australia were the second best team in the world, only by bringing Adam Ashley Cooper, Matt Giteau, Drew Mitchell back in their mid-30s for 3 backs. So they were the best team in the world, as much because France were in a up and down phase as they historically have frequently been. So they were the best team because no one else was very good.
Yeah, but they also have players who were 100% the best in their position. So So
Dan Carter wasn't then because he was still the starting 10, but he was about 35 and he was slightly on the decline. Kieran Reid was.
Kieran Reid, yeah.
Their centre partnership were also super old. Conrad Smith and Marnois were still the centre partnership.
In Smith and Bodie at that point.
But Bodie was coming into the 23, so he wasn't a starter then.
He was a bench, wasn't he?
Yeah,
even
Ben Smith was. So Ben Smith, Kieran Reid were the best in the world. Besides that,
you've missed
Surveyor, Retallick and Whitelock were.
Richie McCaw.
I don't think he was 35. He was the best in the world because he knew how to talk to the refs and he got all the decisions. I don't think he wasn't the best player in the world by no chance.
Yeah, but all these guys were absolutely. I don't want to use it. I was going to say transcendent because I want to use it again later. But I'll say transcendent. Like they were for a long period of time. Those boys, you would say, who's New World 15? That guy. That guy.
But I think by 2015. They were not. I don't think Richie McCaw was the best open side in the world at that point.
They'd already peaked, is what you were saying, but the rest of the world had dropped off.
Yes, they were on a decline, but the rest of the world were like dropping off a cliff so fast.
I don't think that this New Zealand team will ever be as good as that New Zealand team,
and they probably won't be because they probably won't be relative. And I think Richie McCaw and Dan Carter might be the best players ever to play in their respective positions. Marnonu and Conrad Smith might be the best centre partnership ever to play the game. Retallick and Whitelock might be, alongside a few South African combinations, they might be the best second row partnership, but they weren't all at that time in 2015. They were over the lifetime of their...
There's 2 things. I think maybe the players individually might
Aaron Smith was the best 9 in the world.
Yes.
He was the best 9 in the world. Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
So I think the players individually might be as good, if not better. So I think Bowden Barrett is an incredibly good player. I think Barrett and Iwani in centres are, I've said it before, the 2 most talented centres ever to play the game.
Yeah,
together.
but I'm not convinced about that partnership still.
Agreed. And this is the point I'm going to make. I don't think
10, 12, 13, I would say.
Yeah, their identity, though, and their style.
Yeah.
So the class, the All Blacks teams that you can think of which were great with the transcendent players, the style of rugby and the cohesiveness, that's what made them brilliant. This team has not got that. Not by, miles off it.
I think they'll get that, yeah. I don't think they have it right now. I think they'll get it. I just don't think they'll ever be as good relative to the people around them. But that's more because in 2015 everyone else was bad, not because New Zealand was so.
It was actually, looking back, a historically bad era for rugby.
2015 was,
yeah.
Without ever realising it.
Yeah. If you watch some of the games in that World Cup and the teams in that World Cup, like New Zealand were superb. Everyone else was just.
And on the flip side,
comparison.
and just to appreciate what we're in right now, we are in such a great time in international rugby. Ireland are great, Argentina are good, France, New Zealand, South Africa, all superb. England aren't far off.
No, they're not. I mean, Wales are not where they want to be, but everyone's pretty good.
Scotland are good.
Scotland are good. Scotland are a good team. Australia
are resurgent again.
The right trajectory.
So we are shaping up. Maybe the 27 could be a belter.
Yes, I think so. I hope so.
So,
France, New Zealand, I will, because we were complimenting referees before, I thought, I can't remember his name, the Georgian fella.
Amish Cayley or whatever. Yeah.
I thought he did really well.
He's really good.
He is a good ref. And there was times where players were moaning at him and he was just incredibly calm. No, don't worry about that. I will sort it. And if I don't sort it, the boys upstairs will sort it. You don't need to worry about that. He was excellent.
Oh, God. That's my number one pet hate about playing rugby at amateur level. Lads that talk to referees. Shut up. We had one of the most ridiculous calls this week, right? By the way, we had a great ref too. We had a ref that came down from level 5 and he was superb. Absolutely superb. One of our lads, right, at the line out. So our captain is our 10. Knowing he can't talk to the ref, shouted to our captain as we was line out, Ferg, just tell the ref to watch out for the not straight at the line out. I was like, this is just going to antagonise people. Leave him be. If it doesn't go straight, we'll deal with it, or he'll see it. One of those two things will happen. But shouting across, like, ask the ref to look for... Jesus Christ, how thick are we? Never, ever, ever question the ref. Just do as you're told.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Just on officiating and the incentive, I think we've talked about incentive. Show me the incentive, I'll show you the behaviour. The head contact thing, what I liked especially about the Wales-Australia game today and the James Dolan, did I say his name?
Yeah.
Anyway, on Friday night, I'm not saying Jack Crowley milked it. I'm not saying he did.
There was a couple of times in that game where the Irish players let the referee know, or at least the video ref, TMO, that there was contact to the head.
There was contact to the head. They were very keen that the contact to the head was made aware to everybody. And I think you might have said this before, JB. If you roll around, you're automatically, no question, off you go then. Jog on.
Yeah. So
Jack Crowley did not go off for an HIA.
You've heard the saying, how do you become a nice person? You pretend to be a nice person.
Yeah.
And eventually you'll just become one, right? So what you do matters. I take this approach to players, my players in particular, trying to milk head contacts. I was like, if you're not injured, get up. Just get up, because I don't want you pretending to be injured, because eventually, if you pretend to be a coward, guess what happens? Right? I don't want people rolling around holding their heads to draw penalties. You think it's smart, it isn't. Get up. If the referee's seen it, it'll be fine. If you're holding your head, maybe you do it for a split second, but then you get up. You get up and you act like it's absolutely fine. Like, the same principle applies to normal face. Run to scrums, even if you're getting battered, and pretend everything is normal and that you don't care.
Yeah, you're getting battered and you're knackered.
Just pretend to be less knackered than they are. Just pretend to be just pretend. So, I think actually the whole rolling around the island thing, like, oh, my head, it does have a real effect on how you play, because if you pretend to be a coward, you will eventually become a coward.
Well, in this game, it led to a 14-point swing. So for the Jack Crowley Maroney,
and I hated
incident.
that Maroney yellow card, because it was Maroney that ended up scoring.
It was,
and Maroney that got the yellow card for the head contact. There were 90 seconds between, a minute between those two moments, and 90 metres of territory between those two moments.
Yeah.
And again, to that point I said earlier, that just does not sit well with me.
You're absolutely right, Tim. absolutely right. It's there should be a limit to how far back they can call the TMOs can get involved.
The assistant referee was right there, and the TMO had time, if it was an issue, to go, you need to stop, foul play, or whatever the case may be. Yeah. I don't know. It just didn't feel good. And it was only 2 minutes in, so nothing's ever game defining. There's lots of moments, and Argentina could have done a lot better, but it was a big moment really early on. And it was
both a 14-point swing then, but also on that yellow card, Ireland scored a second try as well.
Yep.
The Hansen try was both in that period where Maroney was in the bin. So you can say it impacted some things. But then I think, so the game overall, obviously, it finished in a 3-point loss.
Yep.
I think Ireland, they were the better team overall, I think. They scored 3 tries to 1, albeit the Malia try was spectacular.
Oh, footwork.
It's very rare that you see such a try of individual brilliance at this level. His superb footwork. I guess the Grant Williams one was another one this weekend, but they're such good tries. Where
that is another bonus.
The break, and then the step, and then the acceleration, and then the finish.
That is one bonus about Toma Ramos playing 10 is that Toulouse don't have to leave one of their international superstar fullbacks out of the team. They can have them all in.
Yeah, it's true, isn't it? The more you think about it, the more ridiculous that Toulouse team is.
Capuozzo, Kinghorn, Malia, Ramos.
God, yeah.
Who should we have as our fullback this week?
Any one of them. Yeah, it's incredible. Is there anything I want to say about Argentina? Not really. Ireland's errors are mounting up.
Yeah.
Their ill discipline, I don't even think is ill discipline. So again, it was written about in the Times. If Ireland want to do something, they need to improve their discipline. They're doing it on purpose. Like they can improve their discipline tomorrow. They're just getting caught for what they're doing. And I alluded to this was it last week or the week before that? I can't remember. But they're falling on the wrong side of rucks. They're doing all sorts of things at ruck time, trying to be clever with the so-called dark arts. And it is deliberate. They are putting effort into doing this, and it's not coming off. They need to abandon it. But that's not a discipline issue. Because I think they've been very disciplined. I think they've been very disciplined because that's what they've been told to do. They just need to cut it out. I think it'd make them a better team at this point.
Well, the last 2 weeks they've set records in the last 10 years, I think it has been, since they've conceded as many penalties. 13 and 14 in the last 2 weeks, which for years and years, basically since Joe Schmidt first got involved, and maybe even before that, they've consistently kept it under 10.
I think teams that are as good as Ireland, as mature as Ireland, they tend to get really hung up on finding the next 10%, don't they? Yeah, and you see it. You mentioned about South Africa, like, they want to go to this new offloading game because they need to unlock that next 10%. Like, just stop it. You're already the best in the world. Maybe just go back to basics. Work on the basics a little bit more. Maybe just stick to what you are rather than reinventing things. And I think this is Ireland's version of what South Africa were doing with the, let's expand and do offloading. And I think they think that there's an advantage to be had by rolling around in rucks, and they're just not.
Well, not because I think overall the refereeing, we've said it before, it's been excellent, and they are so much more astute to the dark arts.
They are,
days.
yeah, they're
really
very,
are.
very smart.
You are very, very rarely going to get away.
As he said in the famous words of Daniel Craig in Layer Cake, only very, very stupid people think the law is stupid. Ireland should watch Layer Cake.
It'll be interesting to see in the next couple of games how they deal with it. Do they dial it back and manage to reduce the penalty count back to where it's been, or do they continue doing what they're doing? Ireland
have had their 2 biggest games now, although Australia now looks... Game. I'm going over to Dublin for that one.
Oh, are you? Awesome.
Yeah. Never stops. No.
That's just about the only game that.
It's the only game that weekend, yeah.
Yeah, it's right at the end, isn't it?
Yes, they've got Fiji next.
Okay.
Yeah. We haven't... just jumping back very briefly to France, New Zealand, just the haka, how cool. Even you,
didn't watch it.
You didn't like it.
So I didn't...
It was, oh, man.
I didn't see it because of...
You'd love it, Jay.
I was catching up on the...
La Marseillaise is the best anthem.
It is.
And they've made even more of it a cappella. They stopped the music even sooner in it.
Oh, really?
So it's just the crowd. It's so cool.
Yeah, so... Because I'm watching it on Fast Forward, there's there's no way I was watching the haka.
Oh, it's awesome.
Is it?
So they turned all the lights off, and they just had a spotlight on New Zealand, and spotlight on France. It was all completely pitch black except for that.
I don't say many nice things about the haka, but I will say one nice thing about it. One of the things that terrifies me most is dancing in public. So, like, the idea of standing in the Stade de France with a spotlight on me, like, lads, do I have to do this? Do I? Because I don't feel like culturally Maori or any way. Can I just play? Can I just play without doing this nonsense?
It is. I think of it less like dancing. I think of it more like an elegant backs move or an elegant line-out move.
That's how I'd have to. Yeah, that would be.
You'd have to. Yeah,
that's what the sports psychologist would need to tell me to make me do it.
Anyway, they said the spotlights, and New Zealand wearing the white kit. And the stash was nice. Both teams.
I might rewatch it and then see what
the stash was lovely. In this
stash was really nice. Both sponsored by Altrad, and they so New Zealand in the spotlight, pitch black with the white kit, and then the lights behind New Zealand went into tricolor around the top. And it's actually quite an amazing image of the New Zealand team in the spotlight with the tricolor behind.
So I don't really know the dynamics of French nationalism. But we spoke about English nationalism before. I do still love the pride of the French nation.
Oh, absolutely. And they were rightly proud for this game because they came back to win.
It's a 1-point win.
1-point win. Yeah. That last minute where New Zealand, they camped in their own 22 and they knew they had to run it.
Yeah.
And they went for it. They went left, right, and eventually just
France played
nowhere.
France played without a fullback or something ridiculous.
I don't know if we saw it because of the
France played with a single man back.
They only need a single man.
Yeah.
There's no point anything else.
Brutal, isn't it? A brutal way to shut down a game.
It's a great way to finish a game.
14-man defence on your own 5-man.
But the interesting bit, because there's a couple of different ways. So what did you think England made the right call? They had South Africa just gone down a man.
No, they should have taken the 3.
9 points behind.
Should have taken the 3.
So I've actually written on my phone, because I was watching this on catch-up, and it was 15... What would Tim think when it's 15-9? Because you mentioned that the Northern Hemisphere teams kick too much. They're too negative. But I think that that's exactly the right thing. You should always kick your points pretty much, I think.
So in that one, it was 20-29. The score. It was a scoreline. It finished, wasn't it?
It was a scoreline. It finished. So England were 9 points down. Steenkamp had just gone into the bin.
Yeah. And there's 10 minutes left, so he comes back for the last minute.
It's 68 minutes he went off.
68, yeah, so he gets 1 or 2 minutes.
So England have plenty of time, and they're 9 points behind.
Yeah, they have a kickable penalty, and they kick to the corner. Now, I always think you take if you've got a shot, it's a minute, less than a minute, 30 seconds to get those points on. You could spend the whole of the next 10 minutes banging on the door, and only after 9 minutes and 59 seconds actually get the try. Take the points when they're available. So get the 3, especially because that 3 puts you within a converted try of
if you think you're going to win, kick the points. That sounds ridiculous, but you've
got to kick the points there.
This
is what's quite interesting. So New Zealand, 74 minutes. The score is 26-30, and they take 3 points.
Because they think they're going to win.
And they're getting hammered by New Zealand fans saying, "What are you doing taking the points? You should have gone for the corner."
It is slightly different.
It is a little bit different.
They only need one score.
One score, yeah.
If they needed more, if they were 8 points or more, if they're 2 tries down, if they're between 8 and 10 or 9 points, it's that little sweet spot. You've got to kick the 3. If it's beyond that, you have to go for tries anyway. Yeah. So I think in this, New Zealand were wrong to do it because they've still got to score, but they eliminate their time left to.
I agree with that, and I agree with you on England as well. What I would say about New Zealand, which is the bit that didn't make sense to me, is having gone for the 3 points. My thinking was, well, they've got Damien McKenzie on the field. They back themselves to get some territory and maybe squeeze another penalty, if not score. But they played like they were trying to score a try. They didn't play like they were trying to squeeze a penalty, and they were just a bit too loose and ended up knocking on and turning the ball over, rather than tightening up a bit and trying to squeeze a pen.
England style, just 1-up until someone strays offside. And then kick the penalty.
Oh, by the way, we haven't mentioned it. Charles Olivon. Oh my God,
handsome, isn't he?
Yeah, and quite good at rugby.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean that the French. I mean the French bench this week was mighty impressive, and the young talent that they're bringing on as well.
Guitoun, Le Garrick,
Guillard, Gaeton. Yeah,
who's is it? Gaeton
Gaeton the centre.
The centre, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
good Lord.
He's only 21.
Isn't right? Yeah. When he was in space and it was a forward pass, I was like, something's going to happen here. And if it wasn't a forward pass, I imagine that would have been an epic scene.
It would have been lovely. Yeah. But they won, which is a great scene anyway.
And Ireland got the win as well.
Yep.
Yes.
What are the games for next week?
We have got... Let me just get it up.
Is there a Friday night game again?
There is. France-Argentina. Now, there is some niggle in this game.
That's pretty cool.
There is
football or rugby?
Well, both.
Both.
Yeah.
Both, because of the summer tours and all of that side from
Christ.
rugby.
So, have France recovered their players, which they left in Mendoza yet?
Don't know.
Let's find out.
There's a lot of niggle there. A lot of niggle. And both teams playing well. Argentina will fancy their chances on that.
Definitely. Oh, yes, that's a great way to start your Friday night. Are you with me on Friday night?
I don't know, am I?
In town?
With Harry?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, there we go. We can watch it in town.
We can watch that. Yeah, let's find somewhere to watch that.
Superb.
That's a great idea. Yes.
Nice. So I'm going to go home win.
I am going to go home win. But
home win?
I want Malia to score another wonder try.
Yeah.
Or any of the... There's loads
loads
of boys that can do it.
I mean, I've liked other France kits more than the current one, but France kits are always great. But Argentina and France, stash-wise, it's about as good as it gets.
Just a quick question. Do you think playing with Anton Dupont and his little mates in your club makes you less or more afraid of him? So if you're Malia, if you're Juan Cruz Malia, and who's the other Argentine they have?
Chocobaras.
Yeah. If you're those two boys, are you more or less afraid?
Probably more, because I bet they've seen even more than we've seen in training.
Yeah, maybe. Guys, you don't understand. No, listen to me. Don't go out there.
Yeah, no, but just tell us how to stop. No, you can't.
It's impossible.
It's impossible. Yeah, you cannot.
So on Saturday, we have got some small games and some big games. So we've got Spain hosting USA, which would be interesting. USA going to one of our favourite stadiums.
We didn't talk about Scotland and Portugal, but fine. Scotland won.
Yep.
Well done.
Scotland won, scored some nice tries.
Portugal got a try.
They got 3 tries.
Three tries?
Yeah, one of which was the scrum half scored a lovely try thanks to a massive scrum. Powered over the South African scrum and created room for the scrum half.
Scotland.
Very healthy.
South Africa, that's a bit of a Freudian slip with Pierre McScooman.
Very good point.
Well, Toulouse have got a South African prop, haven't they? He's going to be French very soon.
Yes, Merkler.
Yeah, and
he's also, I think he's actually like a German international.
Oh, is he?
He played for Germany a few years ago. He's South African descent, played for Germany, he's now clear to play for France. They've got Merkler, they've got another South African at Stade de France, who's 150 kilo, Miafu-shaped lock.
Good God.
I can't remember his name. And Tatafu just qualified. He's a Tongan. He's just played his first 2 tests. He's 22.
So Tatafu's the prop.
He's going to be amazing.
He's a big boy, isn't he?
So Tatafu, there's the Australian who is... who's the guy who played this week, right?
In Miafu, yeah.
Yeah, the second row.
Absolutely leathered someone.
Will Jordan and Geordie Barrett.
Geordie Barrett, he leathered. By the way, Geordie Barrett, amazing player and all the rest of it, is getting a bit of a reputation for getting absolutely leathered.
Yeah, because he runs hard, and because he's so tall, he does run quite upright.
Was it?
Yeah. There's that clip of Rassi Erasmus saying to Peter Steph Totoy in some team meeting. He runs really upright. So just
smash him,
break his ribs, just smash him in his ribs, and then you cut to the game and Peter Steph Totoy wallop.
But then again, I mean, like,
final.
Who does he think he's talking to? Like, what does Peter Steph Totoy do?
Oh, I hadn't thought of that, boss.
Oh, okay.
That World Cup final, you could make a highlight reel just of Peter Steph Totoy smashing Geordie Barrett.
There is it's is a scene in the World Cup final, and it starts with Peter Steph smashing, I think, Geordie Barrett, and it's classical music, and it's just so good. It's all in slow-mo, and it's not what you expect. It's not just Peter Steph atomising him. It's all the skills before. It's the way that the All Blacks spin the ball. It's a collision with the Springboks. It's poetry. It's art.
So, next game, Ireland versus Fiji. Then we've got Romania versus Uruguay. Wales versus South Africa.
Oh, God.
Oh, God.
That is...
No.
That is not going to be pretty. So Razzie went 5-3 split on the bench this week, which is a bit of an insult to...
Huge insult.
But it's an accurate assessment of the England pack, but it is an insult to the England pack. Although he might have liked to have a couple more forwards because he lost a few through injury and discipline.
Do you know who he has got in the squad that he'll probably use against Wales is the Welsh qualified Cameron Hanekom. Probably make his debut.
Yeah, just really end that now. End that chat. Because he's... Cameron Hanekom has been tempted to Wales, isn't he, with a delicious Dragons contract or something. Why do you can play for the Dragons? No.
Thanks,
absolutely not.
Lewis Rees-Zammit's move to the NFL looks so smart right now.
Because Wales are rubbish, or
because Wales are rubbish?
Is he playing any football?
No. He's in a practice squad.
He's just not playing for Wales.
He should, yeah. Anything's better than playing for Wales. Yeah. Certainly getting paid quite good money to have fun in America.
Stay in great shape and not get injured.
Yes.
Probably the healthiest he's ever been.
Probably.
He's having no contact, is he? He's good to go for America.
Sure, he's having plenty of contact.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Other games on Saturday. Scotland A, Chile. Italy host New Zealand, which is in Torino, actually, in another Allianz Stadium. They love naming stadiums. So in Juventus's ground.
Oh, okay.
That would be quite cool.
That's pretty cool. There isn't a game that's really captured my imagination yet.
Torino.
No.
Turin.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, why is it listed as Torino here?
Is that how the Italians say
Turin, yeah. Maybe. Don't know. But yes, Juventus. This is an interesting game. Scotland-Australia.
That's the best. That's the only real competitive game of the weekend, isn't it?
France-Argentina.
France-Argentina and France-Argentina, Scotland-Australia.
That should be a tri-fast. It should be a very good game.
Yeah, that will be a really good game, actually. Pick of the Saturday's games, because the other ones are Georgia versus Tonga in Tbilisi and England versus Japan.
Georgia heartbroken at not being able to win against Italy.
Yeah.
I love Japan as a nation. I really hope England batter them.
They will. They will.
They really batter them.
Yeah.
Really.
I think England will.
Really batter them.
They'll take all their frustrations out on Eddie.
Yeah, it's very hard to know who I dislike from the England regime. Is it the current guys in charge? And Eddie Jones is just not a likeable guy. So it's interesting. I don't know.
Well, one of your favourite guys demonstrated his leadership, and Sia Khaleesi guided South Africa to another win over England. So you got to...
Yeah, at least Sia Khaleesi's like...
3 cheers for...
Sia Khaleesi. At least Sia Khaleesi, you can actually say, is a remarkably nice person. What do you mean? Like, you can't really say anything bad about Sia Khaleesi as an individual, can you?
Phenomenally nice person.
Yeah.
Friend of the pod.
Friend of the pod,
Friend of the pod, yeah.
Glad I deleted that interview.
Never mind. Double World Cup winning captain interview.
Was he captain of the Springboks at that time?
I think he was, yeah. It was 1 year out from the World Cup.
They hadn't had a very good year. They'd lost a lot of games. This was the year before he would conquer the world. And yeah, is that all the games then?
That's all the games. Everything I've got. Yeah.
Cool. Excellent. What did you think of the coverage of the England game? TNT coverage.
So I didn't watch it live, obviously, because I was at the ground.
Well.
Watched it afterwards.
I have some thoughts.
Shall we jump onto Patreon to do those thoughts?
Yeah, let's do that.
That's a great idea.
Before we do that, do you want to talk about the Mega League? The league that's been compared to F1, the IPL, and Live Golf?
I want to see a little bit more substance before I waste time talking about it.
Complete nonsense. I think it's utter nonsense. Like, it's mystery American money. Like, There's just pots of it around.
It feels like someone's testing the water, just like, what's the reaction to this?
Well, there's nothing to test. No, here's what's going on, Tim. Right? The easiest thing in the world to do is offer a rugby player £700,000 because they're not going to say
hypothetically,
no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, hey,
there's no actual commitment. This isn't real money.
Yeah, it's not real money. Name your player.
Sia
Khaleesi. Would you like £700,000? Yes, I would. Well, Sia Khaleesi's on board. Would you mind saying you wouldn't mind £700,000 that you would sign up for? Yeah, fine. Whatever. Just ask his agent. Would you like £700,000? Oh, for Sia, okay, fine. £2 million. Sia Khaleesi, you win. Okay, I'm in. Right. It's the easiest thing in the world to get them to commit to money. Where is this money? Who is behind it? What's going to happen?
And will World Rugby sanction it or not? Because if they don't, that player's not allowed to play international rugby.
Yeah, well, this is the bit which I hope does succeed, actually. So I hope it is not sanctioned by World Rugby, and I hope it is like what happens to Live Golf, just so we can get a little bit of change in the sport. But maybe I'm hoping for everything to burn down. Maybe I've not thought that through yet. But sorry, back to my point. If you offer all these players all this money, you then do it in reverse, don't you? Then you go to the funders and say, look, I've got all these players committed. Would you be prepared to pay them all? And maybe they'll say yes, maybe they'll say no. But I don't think it's a real offer at the moment. I don't think there's real offer.
Oh, no.
Exactly.
I don't think there's real offer. I don't think we know much about it.
It's also a stupid idea.
We don't know enough about it to say whether it's good or bad, but it's not going to fit anywhere in the current calendar without completely ripping it up. So
not having any more rugby is a stupid idea.
Yeah.
So whatever it is.
Well, this would be less rugby for top players, I think, is the point they're making. So it would be F1, 12 events, and it goes to a different city each event, like F1, and they have like a mini tournament weekend.
Yeah, just no. That's
Millennium Magic.
Yeah,
Magic Weekend.
12 times over. Sign me up. The one thing so a lot of people come out very negative on this. Rugby's not especially cash rich. So if this were a real opportunity, a bit like the Qatar or wherever else offering to host matches, the culmination of the whatever you call it, the Nations Championship thing. Rugby's not in a position where you can turn your nose up. Where you can't say out. It would be stupid to just say no from some moral obligation if it is real and there is serious cash. But I want to see.
I want to see more substance before I talk about it. And but that is one of the things, just very briefly, that annoys me so much about people saying France are being disrespectful to international rugby and New Zealand in the case of next summer by not sending their first choice team because it's too close to the end of the top 14. The top 14 is maybe the one entity in all of World Rugby that is actually viable and real as a business.
Club rugby wise, it's simultaneously the best and the worst thing that's going to happen to rugby. It's going to be so powerful. This is my prediction. I've predicted it for years, and it's slowly coming true. It'll be so powerful, it will destroy international rugby. Because international rugby will not be able to, unless it in of itself raises the profile of rugby so much that it kind of drags international rugby.
Has a halo effect.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only way. Otherwise, it's just going to get so powerful that people will be choosing top 14 just as a default. And eventually it'll be the other way around, that the international teams will have to come cap in hand to top 14 to release their players. So just be very careful how you treat the top 14 because I think they hold all the cards.
Interesting. Right, we're going to hop on and talk about the coverage of the rugby, among other things, on Patreon. Patreon.com/EggChasers. Thank you very much for listening. Let the boys end.
Boys end. Right, do you know how to...
We all have dreams. Dream home renovations, dream vacations, or sending our kids to their dream colleges. But finding straightforward ways to turn those dreams into realistic goals, that's where things get tricky. Merrill understands that. That's why, with a dedicated Merrill advisor, you get a personalized plan and a clear path forward. And having the bull at your back helps your whole financial life move with you. So when your plans change, Merrill is with you every step of the way. Go to ml.com/bullish to learn more. Merrill, a Bank of America company. What would you like the power to do? Investing involves risk. Merrill Lynch, Pierce, Fenner & Smith Incorporated, registered broker-dealer, registered investment advisor, member SIPC.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Make another smart choice with Auto Quote Explorer to compare rates from multiple car insurance companies all at once. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.